viewers have to deal with this crap. At least on YouTube, they're only like 30 seconds or 15 seconds, not 4 minutes. Non-skippable. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Think penny ad sometimes refreshes, you get full ad. Yeah. But knowing me, I'll refresh and it'll start over at 4 minutes again. This is ridiculous. The show's probably going to be already started. No, we got 27 seconds. Okay, good. At least we got all the garbage ads out the way, right? So now we can actually start. So it's not so bad. Yeah, that's why, man. I don't plan on coming back to Twitch unless there's a big change in the way they do things. I'm very not a big fan of the way Twitch does their ads. The worst part about it is even if you turn off ads, they turn it on and then they take the revenue. Oh wow. All right, let me turn off the music. Slideshow off, music off. Make sure there's no music on their end. Yes, there's music on their end, so I have to keep it muted for now so I don't get no copyright strike, because they like doing stupid stuff like that. All right.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another Smite Update show. I am Titan Dandy, and I am honored to be here as always, and even more honored by the guest that I have joining me today. You know him, you love him. We have Ro and Lermy. Welcome aboard, you two.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome back.
Excited to be here, talk some more Smite?
Oh yeah, yes, always happy to talk about some Smite.
Excellent. Well, I love to hear it, and again, I love to be here. So, as always, we got to start the show with something, and this time it's me talking.
What's up,
more. You know how I love to do that. Sorry. So we're going to talk about an event that recently went live that has been really fun to watch, the Go for Gold event. So if y'all have seen that on Twitter or haven't heard about it at all, here's what it is. The Go for Gold event is a good event in the spirit of competition in which we have been promoting for y'all to go for the gold and to try to earn as much gold in game as possible just by playing matches. So Conquest, Arena, whatever, you're playing the game, you earn gold. It's
so
just
Arena,
kind of
you're
part
probably
of the
earning close to about 10,
but now we're tracking
roughly
that gold
about 10,000 gold.
We're tracking it on 2 levels, individually, person to person, but we're also tracking it community-wide. So that's a big old bubble right there. And what's going on is there's going to be 2 prizes, one on the individual level and one on the community level, that will be rewarded if you reach these thresholds by the end of this week or kind of early next week, like Monday morning-ish. So let's just say through Sunday. The first prize is on an individual level. As an individual, if you earn a sum of gold, it is on the blog. Off the top of my head, I think it is 202,400. So
correct.
2024. Yeah. You will earn a title. Yeah, a title.
Gold medalist. Yeah.
The gold medalist title. So I said the word title, and then my brain for some reason gargled it. So that was cool. But yes, the gold medalist title will be all yours if you can earn throughout all of your games played 202,400 gold. So don't worry about, oh, well, I got to save my money. I can't buy my tier 3 item because I'm like, it only counts gold accrued and not gold spent. So don't worry about actually spending the money. It's just end of game. How much gold did you earn total added to that? But it'll also be added to the community pool. Now, the community pool, same time limit, but the community pool is a little bigger. As a community, you will have to earn, and correct me if I'm wrong here, 500 billion gold.
That's correct.
Billion with a B. So that's a lot of zeros. I'd say them all, but I'd get lost.
That's a lot of gold, dude.
And if you earn, as a community, that beautiful 500 billion gold, then you will get a 2x Worshippers event that spans all of update 11.8. So the update we're about to talk about today. So that's a complete month of 2x Worshippers. So it'll be the perfect opportunity for you to dive in, get all those stars that you're looking for, or I guess get all of the stars on one character. You could get like diamond on everybody, but get divine legacy finish. So either way, that is the Go for Gold event. So we're about halfway through it right now. It kicked off on Monday, so you still have plenty of time. Make sure to get those weekend games in, or just really run down the queues, I guess, on Sunday morning, like all day. But just something I wanted to remind y'all of and wish you the best of luck for, and hope that y'all can earn that reward. There will be some updates as we continue to work through the week, so keep your eye out for how y'all are doing. But we're keeping track, and we hope you earn the gold. So from there, I guess it's time to talk about some of the skins for this patch, right?
Let's do it.
Yeah, we have a couple of them that we're excited to show you here, starting with Bit Blaster Apollo. So our boy Apollo.
Oh, I love this theme.
He has the hearts on the bottom. That's awesome.
It kind of looks like that thing like the
so
Squirty
cute.
has. The Squirty has a skin that looks very similar to this.
I agree.
Like very epic video game characters, but they're like super self-aware too, which I think is really funny.
That's the fun part, yeah.
Agreed. And this is part of the Immortal Honor event. Y'all should be familiar with it by now if you're longtime Smite fans. We've been hanging out with us this year. Ooh, check him out. But the Immortal Honor event is that event that we keep on talking about where every skin is cross-gen. That's right. There's Smite 1 and Smite 2. And you can pick them up either by all, which you can still do now, even though we're, going into our 8th month of this, I believe. Or you can buy them in chapters, depending on the skins that you like or that you want. Again, all of them will be available in Smite 1 right away when you obtain them, as long as they've been released so far, and will be available in Smite 2 soon. But soon when the game comes out, when the character's in it, you know what I mean. But super excited for this, and again, these will be the next 2 skins in the edition of this event, and we'll see the next one in a second. But I figure for this one it'd be fun to hop in game. I mean, I'm a video gamer. I love the video game.
We're all gamers here.
We're all gamers here. So yeah, let's check him out.
Yeah.
That hair is magnificent.
Looks like Mega Man, yeah, for real.
I love
it
the
does
color
look like
scheme
Mega
on
Man
this
for
skin
sure.
too. It's got lots of just kind of
Pixels.
doodads everywhere. That's
All the OGs, I remember what Mega Man is, right?
Oh wow, yeah.
Where it gets a little low res, you might say, but on purpose for the style of it.
Yeah. I was really admiring how it's just a basic auto attack. There's kind of like this spiral to it. That was kind of cool looking.
Yeah, I just love all of the like kind of crunchy like 8-bit sounds worked into this. I think the sounds are really sick. But if we're talking about sound, we got to talk about the ultimate, which is just iconic. And listen to that.
That is cool.
Oh,
agreed.
He's like
it's always
some
fun
kind of
listening to our audio
hovercraft.
designers like
That's
talk
pretty
about
cool,
how they
like little spaceship.
integrate all these old sounds in, because obviously there's more finesse than just apply old sound to getting an
funny
old
part
sound to
about
sound
this
good in a
is
modern
I
video
can't
game.
tell
So it's
if
really cool,
the
like
art is
just
pixel
hearing
art
it sound so
or
good and
if
realizing that
Twitch
like there was a
just
concerted
has
effort
garbage
to make
streams.
these old kind of
'Cause
crunchy
you know how Twitch has
audio
this
sound
crappy bit
sound
rate?
as good as they
So I
do.
don't know
it
if
sounds
it's
like Apollo,
the
dude, which I
stream
think
or
is
the
most
actual
fun part. It's literally like
the
if
actual
Apollo
skin
was
that's
ported
pixelated.
into this little like video game world.
Yeah.
It's so necessary for gameplay as well. Like I want it, if something's hovering above me and I hear music above me, I know that
It has to
Apollo
be
because it is,
the
like,
skin.
his version of the song, as
Yeah.
well as with him landing as well.
Yeah,
the,
I think it's
the
the
normal
skin.
sound of Apollo landing, but in this separate era of video
It's like
games.
pixel art.
It's so cool.
It is very, very cool. Well, again, super cool to get a look at it in game. And as always, since these are all cross-gen skins, we want to show you all the Smite 2 render as well. So let's get a little look at the Smite 2 render
Yeah,
for
let's take
Makes you want to play Apollo.
Oh,
Ooh, that looks
I just
nice.
love how much they upgrade the metal.
Dude, it's
between
amazing
Smite
how
1 and
much
Smite 2. It just really feels
of an
so much
improvement
more
it is from the old
metallic.
engine to
Yeah,
the Unreal
no,
5,
I get what you mean
man.
though. Because of the way that light
the
is
metal
handled in
shines, and you
UE5,
can see,
it has
textures. It's
metal has
really
a better
nice.
sheen because it's real time catching light and reflecting off of it in a way that looks more realistic.
Yeah, the way they
That
reflect
creates
light
the
is
separation
awesome.
as well between
It's
like the
freaking
metallic
awesome.
pieces on
Yeah.
like, the armor pieces and then like the cloth or the fabric pieces that are on the rest
And
of
the hair.
body. Yeah, and the hair.
True.
Yeah.
No metal hair. That's just good product usage, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
So. Awesome. So let's move on to the second skin in the Immortal Honor event. We have Fletched Fawn Artemis.
This skin is adorable.
Artemis.
It is adorable.
Husky. He's huge.
Yeah, with the
Got
flowers.
a big
in
old
his
white
hair.
pig.
I
Big
just
old
love
white
all the cute
pig.
little details with all the nature, just all the deer just hanging out. Tusky, of course, is cute as ever, and the flowers in Tusky's little mane.
Yeah.
Very adorable.
I like her outfit too. Like she has like the flowy sleeves and
Yes.
just super cute.
Big fan of the flowy sleeves for sure.
Plus, I guess I don't know. Would you just call those spots like the patterning that she has on her
Yeah,
arm and then
yeah.
her like the
Yeah, I
midsection,
think
then
the
up under her
pig
eyes.
pretty
Yeah,
much
I
gave
don't
it
know.
away.
It just all fits together so well. Like it really does fit the theme of Fawn, and I think Artemis is a very applicable character for that theme too.
It is. She's very nature forward, very wild. So
Giveaway
to see her
coming
kind of
soon.
just chilling by a
be
stream,
surprised
surrounded
if she's
by
one of the skins they give
deer,
me to
it's,
give
it's
away.
a really cool theme for her.
We'll
So
see.
cute.
So cute. Plus, again, always fan of new looks for Tusky.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, look at him!
Oh hell
up.
no!
The flower
There
mane.
Dude, this
Those
is hot.
oh hell no!
I love all of the like really subtle like patterning going on here. We talked
No,
about the
no,
dots
no.
before, but also on the cloth they've got like small little beads across the place, and of course with the vines around her legs and horns. Like that just
No,
looks so
no.
sick.
It really does, man.
Yeah.
Again, it's just cool seeing all of those little details. I mean, you get the close-ups too, like on her back there's kind of like a sheen. Maybe it looked like, like the morning dew, or like there's a jewel, like she has kind of a jeweled
Yeah.
skin thing. Like you can see it there.
It just
so.
really feels like autumn. You know what I mean? Like when you think of
No.
autumn, these are the vibes that we
Agreed. Oh, dude, I'm ready for autumn too.
Exactly,
Like,
that's what
don't
I
get me
said.
wrong.
Hot.
Hot weather enjoyer. Like I like a day at the pool or
That's
being out in the
exactly
river or
what I
whatever.
said.
But like I'm ready for like sipping coffee with a book under the falling leaves vibes. So. All right, well, as always, we have a Smite 2 render to show off for this one. So let's give it a look.
Oh,
That looks cool. That looks really nice.
I always love
That
the
pig
poses
looks
they,
really nice.
they throw
You see
these
the
models
texture
into.
on
They
his
take
nose?
some time
It's really nice.
to like make really personable poses. Like you can really get the vibe from these characters, and it feels
looks like
such a
something
cute
from like
little
a
connection
Final
between these
Fantasy
two.
type
I don't know.
game.
It's so cute.
It does. Like, big props to the team when they capture these, because again, you like technically
up,
this is just a
K-Ball?
model showcase. You could just slap it into an
Trust
A
me, bro,
pose,
you
and
didn't miss
everybody
nothing
like
yet.
we're all busy enough around here that it would
Nothing
probably be
of
nice to be like,
importance.
all right, cool, A pose looks good, let's go. But no, they take the time to really make it, like you said, to give the skin life with these poses, and
Yeah.
like everything down to like the little head tilt, the way that the legs stuck out, like
Smiling with his eyes as well.
yeah, true.
And by the way, look at the skin on his nose as well, like really detailed.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
textured.
That's what I
want to give
noticed,
it a
too.
boop. All right. Anyway, so that is Fletched Fawn Artemis. That is part of the Immortal Honor event. Make sure to check it out if you have not already. A lot of good skins in there, and every single one is cross-gen, so they will be yours to have in Smite 2 upon their release. But now we're moving on to the next cross-gen pass. So as y'all are aware, we have a new one of these with every update, and now we're moving into the next one. The namesake of the update, we have the Underworld Unleashed cross-gen pass, and we're diving right into it with Charred Soul Shock.
Yeah, we talked about cute.
Oh,
we talked about cool.
nice.
Let's talk
Very
about
nice.
badass.
Kind of
True.
Anime vibes as well. A little bit with the pose.
And not to draw too much attention to it, but kind of cheeked up a little bit.
Oh,
I saw that coming.
Yeah. I had to be the one to say it. Like, I'll be that guy. So
no, I mean, I can see that.
yeah, you got the best of both worlds here. Like, super horrible, but like nice.
Yeah, no, I was
Anyway.
gonna mention
Very cool.
the axe as well.
the axe.
Axe, yeah, that's the
The
one.
face on the axe, yeah.
I
Oh,
just
wow, yeah,
love
there's
this
teeth on it.
expression in this art as well. He just looks like, you talking to me? You say something?
Yeah, me.
Or kind of like, what are you looking at? And we know what we're looking at, but
Yeah,
Well, let's see it.
the axe, of course.
Let's see it.
I've always loved this design too. Okay.
Oh, what
Yeah.
the crap?
Dude, look at him. He's got like the molten energy inside of him, kind of, and I love the almost like alien vibe looked at.
Yeah, to me,
Definitely demonic.
It kind of gives
it kind of
me
has
that,
like a bug, like almost like
have you guys ever
it has
seen
like that sheen, like
Anubis'
like
T5?
ants armor would
It gives
kind
that
of like it looks
Anubis
alive.
T5
Like, that's what it would be. Like chitinous.
Yeah, it looks like an
Yeah,
Anubis
could you imagine
T5
that axe
skin.
being alive too? Jeez.
It'll bite you when he hits you.
Like somebody
I
stole
was just gonna
his
say, I love,
clothes.
especially in the card art, like when you have that jaw where you can like it kind of the space goes behind the teeth, and that's where like
Yeah,
fire
like
and
the
stuff comes
skull.
out. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I don't know, man.
Always
I don't know how I feel
loved
about
that
one.
kind of
It's
look.
like,
So of course,
I don't know.
cross-gen pass wouldn't be called that unless it was cross-gen, which means going to Smite 2 as well. So let's check out the Smite 2 render for our boy Shock.
I bet you in Smite 2 it probably looks really
Oh,
nice.
what an upgrade!
Oh yeah, that looks way better.
All of the emissives just
That
turned
looks
out
a lot
so
better.
well on this skin as well. I mean,
Chalk
we talked
Anubis,
about
that's
just
what it looks
how
like. He looks like Anubis with a big
felt
old
like there
axe.
was molten lava inside. Well, now you can really feel it.
Dude,
Yeah.
can you
I mean,
imagine
all
if they
the
would have
different
used that
lights
as
that are coming
Anubis
off of it, and just the
had that
way
big
that
old
it
axe? It
reflects
would have
on the rest
blinded
of
you. It'd be
the
like having that
figure as well. I just think
lollipop
it
from the
looks
4th of
amazing.
July one.
And doing
skin.
that human pattern recognition thing that we all do, where I'm just looking at the axe
he
and
looks
seeing
skinny.
the face in
It
it.
looks like Anubis.
It's I don't know. It's more nightmare fuel than I thought it would be looking at it, because like I'm
Yeah.
like the nose. I'm unhappy. It's kind of hit me with it.
I'd be crying tears.
Yeah.
The lava tear running
Yep.
down. Yeah.
That added a layer to it. Thanks for that. All right, so cool. So this is going to be the first of the two skins, Shard, Sold, Shock. Next, we're on to Hell's Fury Mercury.
Mercury.
Now this one's sick.
Yeah, same vibes.
True.
We
Oh,
just
so that
had
was
the last
Mercury
skin
for
for
the-
Mercury
on the
being angel,
thumbnail.
so we got to go the
Nice.
other way and make it
Right?
a devil.
Gotta balance the scales a little bit.
It's so fiery, dude, and I think
It is.
it works a lot for him because he's a speed demon. Get it?
I get it.
Anyway,
I thought I
I'm
was
your
the one
Ollie.
that made the bad jokes. I mean, great jokes.
No.
No, but yeah, super love this one. Shout out to the knight getting
Smile and
vaporized,
wave,
not his
boy.
face,
Smile
of
and
course.
wave.
Yeah, bad day to turn up to the battlefield.
Yeah, kind of a common minion L right there, unfortunately. But that's what happens when you try to run down lane at Mercury. So I love this too, because I've always been like, Mercury was one of the early into Smite 2
Just show
or Smite
us.
2 into Smite gods that I ever
Yeah.
played,
Thank
like
you.
going all the way back. Oh, look at him, nice.
Yes, dude.
Oh,
But
did
I've
all the
always
gods
loved like
go
the
on
old, like the
Ozempic or
clap has
something?
always
What's
been.
going on here?
It just absolutely game playing sound effect for me, because you just run through the jungle and you're like, they know my ult is up. I'm just gonna keep spamming the clap. Somebody hears
It's a
it.
little intimidating.
It
you know?
is.
Yeah,
That like when I just got into the game, I was like, that's the mental strat. You just walk around the jungle clearing camps, and like sure they know where you you are, but at the same time, you know, you're catching the duo lane off because they're like, oh, he's about to gank, and you're just, you know,
Might
farming
smite
purple
on the
buff.
die,
So.
right?
This is cool. It's like we kind of like evolved, like kind of like Pokemon a bit, where we evolved two things
Everything's
together.
like,
and this is
they're all
this is
so
Nocrying and Agni
thin. They look like a
together.
bunch of stick
It does
figures.
kind of feel like
Or
that,
fire
huh?
giant with that
Oh,
head.
oh, he does kind of look like Fire Giant with the horns and
Yeah.
everything. Dude, that is such a sick combo. I just love how like spiky he is.
He is very spiky. All the less fun to get punched by.
Oh yeah, that's gonna
So-
hurt even more.
Yeah, like look at he has like
I
the
don't know, dude.
spiky
I'm not feeling
knuckles.
it.
So
I'm not feeling it.
comfortable. Well, I guess we should probably hop in game then and see what he looks
let's
like.
take a look.
Let's check him out.
I'm not feeling it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get some punches in.
They're
I mean,
fiery.
it's
I love
okay.
They sure
I
are.
If
guess.
we do dot damage, we should just like
Right, a little
add an item
burn.
for him. Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Oh, that is cool. Yeah.
Ring of
I mean,
Fire.
it's okay, I guess.
Oh,
It's too
every-
No,
League
he's
of
picking up
Legends
flames.
looking.
Yeah,
to
every
me.
footstep is, but when he
It
does
has
that, it
League
becomes
of
like
Legends
a trail of
feel.
fire.
That's what I don't like about it.
And of course we got the dash. Yeah,
And
I'm
it's bad
unchained
enough
now.
that
Fend for
Smite 2
Yeah, like
is already
tearing
starting to
off the
look like
chain.
too
That's
much
cool.
like League of
we
Legends,
spin 'em?
and now the God skins are starting to look like
You're
League of
chaining them
Legends,
up, you're
which
giving
is
them
not
these
kind of
good.
like whipped out at the end there as well, which is cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love this effect. It's so cool.
Which
It is.
makes me
Wow.
think,
And
did
of
they
course-
hire artists and freaking programmers
Dude,
from League of
that is
Legends
awesome.
on the team for
Yeah.
Smite 2? I don't know.
Yeah, that's very cool.
But
Yeah.
the similarities are starting to get a little too
That's
noticeable.
awesome. I love the like
In my
script along the
opinion,
side of
anyway.
the ult too.
Yeah, it looks so good.
I am super in love with this.
I am such a fan.
Agreed. Well, again, this is part of the new cross-gen pass that you can look forward to, and of course, cross-gen means we're gonna have the Smite 2 that we're gonna show you here in just a sec. But yeah, again, so you can pick up this pass now, Underworld Unleashed, and yeah, let's check out the Smite 2 render as well
Yeah,
to
let's
see what
take a
that
look.
looks like.
Oh,
I mean, that looks cool.
Look at how stony he looks.
Yeah.
He
That looks like
obsidian.
Yeah,
something
you can
from
really
Dark
see
Souls
like the
or from
textures on
Diablo,
how, like,
you know what I'm saying?
the
So
skin
this
is
doesn't look
just,
too
like,
bad
kinda
there.
crackled, and you see like the energy underneath.
Yeah.
Of course,
and
it's not
the
going to look
flames
like that
running
in
through him. You
game.
can definitely
That's just
see it
the
in Smite 1,
rendering
but
of
in Smite
card
2,
art.
it's a
I mean,
whole
come
nother
on.
level.
It is like it's just it has this charred texture, you know.
Yeah.
That whole headpiece is really cool as well. Like, if you had that as like a
crap.
mask on your wall, it'd be so cool.
Bro, I can see it now. It's just what a cool piece of art to like put
I mean,
together.
that
I
looks
really think it
nice.
does
Like I
sell
said,
the
it looks like
silhouette.
something off
like it
Diablo
feels
or
like
something.
Mercury, but really like a demonic Mercury.
A demonic Mercury,
He's
agreed.
scary now.
It's one of those skins that's like cosplayable as well. Like it'd be really.
Oh,
sick to see
yeah.
that at
Dude,
a-
if somebody made that mask, the amount of props I'd have to
Oh my
give
god,
them.
that would be so cool.
Yeah, that would be incredibly impressive. So either way, part of the new cross-gen pass coming with the next update. Super excited for y'all to get in and earn these. Again, it's a cross-gen pass. These are going to be available in Smite 2 as these gods continue to
Yeah,
roll out.
definitely do Diablo
Obviously,
5.
y'all's
That's what I
been
was
keeping
thinking.
up and playing Smite 2 with us recently, so every time we add a new god, if there are skins that we can work into there, we make it happen. So, well, cool. Those were the skins we wanted to talk about for this. So next up, we have to get into the balance of the update. But before we
Here
do
we
that,
go.
we're going to preamble
Here
a
we
little.
go.
I'm going to preamble. It's a little. Usually I'm not the
Here we
preamble
go.
here. But we're going to get into a bit of a preamble. So
Oh,
let's
no,
talk
here
Smite
we
1.
go.
The last two updates have been a little crazy, right? We released some stuff and y'all were like, how about you revert some stuff too? And we were like, you know what? You want it?
Dude, if
we're
he
going
has
to do
to
it.
front
Okay,
load
we
this,
did it.
you know it's gonna
It
be
was
bad.
fun. After that, we brought back some old items. You had some, old game mode return. We continued having fun with it. And we've heard people say that Smite's in a pretty cool, or Smite 1 is in a pretty cool place right now. And, the team's obviously having fun. We hope that you are as well. And we didn't want to shake the tree too much with that, but we kind of already have the last two updates. With how crazy some of the changes have been, we haven't had a lot of time to really go back and run over everything with a round of polish and make sure that nothing's getting too wild. Because again, some really crazy changes have happened in the last two updates. So we were sitting down and thinking about 11.8, and we were like, well, we really need a chance to just go through and polish a lot of this stuff we have. Like it's in a pretty good spot right now. Obviously, we're always looking for ways we can continue improving, always hearing the community about it, but we just knew we needed to get some polish on this before it gets a little too far out of hand. But it kind of worked out perfectly. And I'm going to bring Smite 2 into the conversation now. We just had Alpha Weekend 4 recently. It's crazy that we're already through that many of them. And as y'all might have recently seen, we announced that
How is it that crazy?
24/7
We're
for closed
halfway through
alpha
the
is
year.
coming. I believe it is August 27th. So we're just under a month away from that. Like, it is on the way to
building up
SMITE
to
2
something.
being
I know,
open
that's what I'm saying.
24/7.
You know,
And so
it's
we were
bad
looking at
when they gotta-
11.8, we were thinking about
they
SMITE
gotta
2, and we were like, well,
front-load you
this
with
is
all
kind
this
of the
bull
perfect
crap. You know
marriage of
something's
things. We
coming.
really want to just focus on getting some balance out for SMITE 1 to make sure that nothing's getting too wild. We can continue working forward in the future without thinking, oh man, we haven't addressed some of these little pop-up issues that came from bringing things back or reverting old changes. And we also really need some bandwidth to work on SMITE 2 because Alpha Weekend 4 was really fun.
So is that
for
code
me
for
anyway.
we're not doing
I got
crap
to
with
play
SMITE
Arena
for
with
a
the
while?
community for the first
SMITE
time in
1,
SMITE
because we knew we
2.
were on SMITE 2.
We got to enjoy some of the changes that we made based on y'all's community feedback and continue pushing forward. But what was more amazing than that was the feedback y'all gave us about SMITE 2. Y'all came back, and as you always do, and we love this, gave us some really, really candid feedback about some of the ways that SMITE 2 needs to continue growing to meet the expectation that y'all have, that we set with SMITE 1 in the past. So this next update is going to be kind of entirely focused on balance for SMITE 11.8. It's all balance to focus on bringing SMITE 1 kind of getting things that are getting a little wacky, round back in. But it also is giving us a huge opportunity as we push towards this 24/7 goal to focus on SMITE 2 for a while. Because again, we had fun with it, but we recognize and we hear y'all's feedback that there are things that need to be worked on, improved, changed, and we're iterating as quickly as we can to get all of those changes into the game.
We're not working on SMITE 1
because again,
no more.
y'all's feedback is, and I kid you not, invaluable. It is. I mean, we are taking rounds of feedback one-to-one, and I'm seeing announcements. I'm leaking a little insider stuff here, but I see announcements daily where they're like, hey, we see a lot of community buzz about they loved this, they didn't love this, and and it's like we're making pivoting changes on that to try to implement things to say, all right, now this is this way. We think that people will like it, but let's let everybody test it. Let's get a feel for it. And if they love it, we keep pushing. If they love part of it, we focus on that.
Be the last SMITE 1 update.
It's constantly evolving based on what y'all have to tell us. And we think that with this next month leading into 24/7, it's going to be imperative that we continue working as hard as we can on that cycle so that when we hit 24/7, y'all are blown away, hopefully, by the amount of change that has been implemented thanks to what you've said. So a lot of talking I just went through. I know, sorry about that, but I just wanted to say that we're super excited for this, and we're excited that 11.8 gets to be a chance for us to kind of polish up what has been an enjoyable experience in SMITE 1 recently, as well as give us some great time to focus on making the next version of SMITE 2 that you see fully out in the wild, which will be the 24/7, August 27th, be hopefully the best version of it that you have seen yet. So as we push forward with this, again, always give us that feedback. I know that y'all are not shy about letting us know, hey, this is awesome, or hey, this sucks. And we love it. Every single bit of it is taken in,
I know, right?
And thought about for hours on end by tons of people. So anyway, I'll stop talking. We'll get into the balance now. I just wanted to preface with, thank y'all for working with us so much. We're excited to have this chance for SMITE 1 and then to have a little extra effort as well to push for SMITE 2, which is kind of the perfect storm for us. So thank you so much. So sorry, y'all just had to listen to me talk. I mean, I know y'all are in there working on both of them all the time.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that is the perfect TLDR. TLDR, we wanted to spend a lot of time doing balance for this patch because we've had such big sweeping changes. Change is fun. Change is awesome.
It is.
Or they're going to have a
very
crap ton of
disruptive
changes.
So we want to make sure that you guys are getting an experience that feels very still SMITE 2 guys, while also again starting to put a lot of our efforts as well into making sure SMITE 2 is going to be as exciting as possible for you guys. So again, this update may feel a little bit more balance focused, and that is as intended, but we're going to have a lot of awesome stuff for SMITE 2 as well coming up.
Yeah, so again, it's one of those where I'm more impressed than anything by the amount of juggling that's happening, because y'all are like, let's make this still feel good, and let's work on this. It's just baffling from my perspective, and obviously, again, I could go on about this forever, but let's talk about some SMITE 1 balance now.
Let's talk about what that balance is.
Yeah, so I guess we're just going to hop into the patch notes and go over it like we did last time. So, of course, we love to start with game modes. Game modes is the place to start, and we're talking about Conquest up first. So what's going on with Conquest?
Yeah, I mean, Conquest has kind of been a little bit the same. A lot of the focus that we did was on the gods or on the items, and Conquest has been kind of taking a little bit of a backseat ever since 11.6, really, when we did a lot of the Bull Demon, invade mechanics on the totems, the totem stacking, all of that stuff. So we're doing a couple small changes here. You'll see, first we're going to start off with buffs, which we've got green buff and blue buff. These are just kind of the weaker perceived buffs in a way. And we're solving kind of two different problems, where the first problem was in the change from TTK, green buff was seen as like a little bit less valuable because it is going to give you less value on the health return because the protection threshold is higher. You have less protections, so we wanted to just shift that threshold downward to kind of work around that. Similar idea with mana buff. Mana buff was just kind of feeling a little bit weak. There was a lot of talk about I'm a solo laner and I'm running out of mana a lot, especially in the early game.
The least fun.
Right.
I'm a solo. I have the
bad.
blue buff. I want to have mana. So we're giving a little bit back, but we're giving it in a way that you need to still be active to get it. So you're getting more of your missing mana back every time that you hit an enemy god. So again, get active and you'll get your mana back. That's all I gotta say about that.
Just start boxing and it'll be there. You'll be able to keep boxing. So cool. So moving next up, it looks like some of the totems are getting a bit of an adjustment.
Yes,
There we go. I knew
we can
Fatalis
talk
was the
about
first
those a little
one,
bit. It
boy.
was
I
one of the
knew
last things
Fatalis was the
in,
first one. Let's see
11.6,
what
I
they
think
did
it
to
was,
it.
where we can make them like stealable.
I
and
knew it
then
was
they
the
have
first
upgrades on
one
top of
that they're going to
And,
mess with, because that
looking
thing
at
is
the totem data we
super
have, we
powerful,
can
man.
see
In
how
Arena,
often
it's super
totem is
powerful. I can't
selected,
imagine in
just
Conquest and
based on
stuff,
the amount of
when you
damage that
only
that totem
have the
takes.
attention of one
So
god
we're able to
at
see
a
that
time.
the
You know
gold
what I'm
totem
saying?
was kind of by far and away the
So
most
let's see what
popular
they
because
do.
kind of everybody needs penetration. It just strictly gives you more damage. So bringing that down slightly and making it a bit less volatile, especially in the early game. There were some situations where you could steal, like you could get tier 2 very quickly, get 7 pen, which is that's a small number, but when it's flat pen, it actually adds up to be a lot of damage.
Especially if it's the first one, like that gets to be really impactful, and that makes the early game feel a lot burstier.
Yeah, by far the most valuable one. So it's bring down a little bit, but also bring others up.
Fast
We
forward, right?
don't just want to go nerf everything that's OP. That way we make the game
wish we
balance. We want to
could.
buff and nerf at the same time, bring things closer together towards the middle. So Verdant Totem, that is the which one is it? That's the green one. Kind of alongside the green buff. Same kind of reasoning. It's more so for frontliners. Kind of anybody can pick it up, really, but it'll scale better the more health you already have. So we're buffing that slightly, as well as the mana of it as well. And then Crimson Totem, which I thought was going to be more effective than it was, but your ability lifesteal as well as your lifesteal getting up to 12 to 17.5.
Yeah, that is a big difference.
That is
that's like
quite a
almost an
bump.
entire item, essentially, for some of the weaker lifesteal items.
Yeah. This one's always tough because like we could make it OP. We could
y'all
make it some
that didn't
crazy
know,
value,
August
but as soon as people buy it
27th
anti-heal,
is the day
then it's
when,
over, right? So this kind of
Smite
makes
2
ebb and flow a little bit
Arena
more
goes
back and forth in terms
24/7.
of like if
So
I
it's not
have,
gonna be an
or if you know
alpha
your
test
enemy
weekend
has
anymore. It's gonna
tier
be
3
alpha test
totem and they're
24/7
selecting it, they have a lot of
until
lifesteal, then you
further
can build your
notice.
anti-heal. So it just makes your
So
choices more important.
Yeah,
That
instead
should
of
be
being
very
like, oh, they're
interesting.
taking like red buff is really strong, they're all going to take it. We need lifesteal. It
Yeah.
just it keeps it from being the I
So
have
of
to
course,
do this.
as soon as that
kind of
happens,
thing.
Right, and
what's the
some
whatever
gods, some
that
roles
next
kind of
Tuesday
need
is
lifesteal to
after
do
the
their
27th,
normal
we'll
things.
probably
Like Hunters are
stream
generally
Smite
one of
2.
them.
Yeah.
So having the ability to get 17.5% of lifesteal is a really good lifesteal item per se.
So
It's an
you
for
don't
all
have to build
y'all
one.
that haven't
It's
gotten
kind of
your
like to that
Founders
threshold where
Edition,
it's like,
you might
okay,
want to
this
get that
starts to
Founders
actually feel like
Edition. At
it's
least
mattering.
Yeah,
the
right.
the
So awesome.
the
Well, really
cheap
cool.
one.
Excited to see those in action. Last but not least for Conquest, we have the Gold Fury.
Yeah, I think we've seen kind of across the board as we've introduced new objectives that generally
That's the only way you're gonna be able to play is with
players can
if
be a little bit
you're,
hesitant to
have
get
a
them. I feel
Founders
like we've said
Edition.
that quite a number
And
of
yes,
times
from what I
where
understand,
we
it
want
will
to try to
include
encourage people to fight
consoles,
around
too.
them, and we've done a lot of work towards that in terms of making them a lot more manageable to get to. But Gold Fury specifically has kind of been the one thing that's kind of hanging on in terms
The
of
one
people
thing.
don't touch this at even some higher ranks. It gets ignored for a long period of time.
Yeah, until 18 minutes into the game.
You like guaranteed, like we can take it, no problem.
We want to really start to encourage people to fight it as early as you want to. Get those objectives rolling. And we are going to be doing that by decreasing the base
the
health
27th falls
of
on
the
a
Gold
Tuesday?
Fury
Sweet.
and increasing the base
That's
gold.
perfect
So
then.
not only
That's
is
perfect.
it easier to kill, the reward is bigger too.
Yeah, a little
That
more
works.
cash in the pocket for it. All right.
You have to
Yeah,
plan
so this
for
one
that
was just
then.
gold, and kind of on the opposite side of the map is the Bull Demon King, which is less gold, but also has that
Which is
added
good, 'cause the
value of being able to kill
24s
wards, which actually gives you gold.
I
So
actually have a
we're kind of
discount.
making the trade more worthwhile. Bull Demon is definitely easier to do than Gold Fury still. We brought Gold Fury down a little bit and brought the rewards up a little bit, so it's significantly better than the Bull Demon in terms of its rewards, but a little easier than it was before, so it makes that trade
think
worthwhile.
of it like that Bull Demon hurts more and it's easier to kill, whereas Gold Fury hurts less, but it's harder to kill. So it takes a different kind of character or composition to actually do either of those objectives. And so we're just kind of bringing that one end of things, where that it is harder to kill, down just a bit to hopefully encourage a little bit more diversity in comps that can really take care of it.
Nice. Yeah, it's also one of those changes where it takes some of the thought out of decision making, because it's so much more valuable now, a little easier. That if you see the enemy team like on Bull Demon, you're like, Gold Fury right now,
or partners.
I mean, it's
That's what
generally the way that we have to roll with things too, is that people,
gem
just
codes
as a
or
nature,
something
this can be
for the
anything.
kickoff
If a thing
of
has not
that
been changed very
24/7
drastically, you're not
alpha,
going to notice it or think of it too differently, right?
push.
So in order for
They
things
should do
to
that.
feel like, oh, I actually
They're
want to try
not,
that, they have to
but
feel really
I think that
exciting and
they
really
should.
different.
Just
So
to,
we are trying to
you know,
push
to
this in a
hype
way that
things
does
up.
feel different and exciting to
Yeah.
hopefully, again, encourage
I don't know
people
if
to actually
we're
go
gonna
and do
see
it.
any
And again, maybe
giveaways
this
for
is
Smite 2 for a while,
the
to
Gold
tell you
Fury is
the
now
truth.
2 weak or gives too much reward, but we want to see people actually
They
start
give
it and do
cross-gen
it
skin
before we
codes
make any of
already.
those
Yeah, they
adjustments.
do.
Yeah.
But
And
it'd be
as
nice to get
always,
like
you'll
gems
tell us.
or
We'll know.
you know,
We'll work on it.
possibility
It's this
of,
relationship we got, and I love it.
hell,
All right, so now
freaking
we're out of game modes.
a
We're
damn
moving
battle
into
pass
the
code.
item of it all. We spoiled it a little bit there with.
All right, here we go.
the Hastin
Okay, they
Fatality.
increased the cost of
Fatality.
fatalities
Really
by
bunch these next two
100 gold.
together,
That's nothing.
actually.
All right,
Yeah, let's do it.
do it. Bunch them together. So let's talk
Yeah,
about that.
Increase
The
the
shield.
cost of
Yeah,
shifter shield. That's nothing.
People aren't going to be surprised to see these icons on the patch notes, I don't
No,
think.
probably not.
Yeah, so these are two items we introduced in the last patch, and you can see the top of the next one too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that
basically,
ain't
we're
crap,
happy
dude.
with how fun players found them.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we saw them in too many situations.
They were
They're
a little
generally meant to be not niche, but like not applicable to every situation, right? So
Yeah, I would say that more so for shifters than for Fatalis, but yeah, I mean, they both were in a large number of games. We
Exactly.
saw the data just saying, yeah, these are like the items.
Yeah, they're popping off.
which is good because people are having fun with it, but the people on the receiving end that don't want to buy these items are probably getting a bit frustrated with
Yeah,
it by
get a
now.
little
So
punish.
the gold increase equal 100 to both of them just makes it a little more punishing, or a little that pushes it a little later into the game than what it
Yeah.
was before.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did also do a nerf to shifters before, which did
Yep.
impact the stats a little bit more. So we wanted to just do a little push again
Double up.
I'm glad
because
that they
it is
didn't
feeling
nerf
like it
shifter
does need
shield.
it.
Yeah.
'Cause I was
but
really
it's
expecting
not so insane
them
right now that
to
it's an every game thing,
take away
but this
10
is going to put it into
power
that niche
and
where it kind of
10
needs to
protections.
Yeah,
from it.
put it
That's
into
what I thought they
where
were
it
gonna
feels
do.
like its best game, not just like a, well,
Yeah.
it's stat
I'm
efficient.
glad
There was
they
already
did
some
it.
of that debate for Fatalis, but in a lot of casual modes, you know, people aren't
I mean, think about it.
min-maxing
When
for
you're at
what's
below
super efficient.
75
It's more so
health,
what's fun,
you
and
automatically
Fatalis
get
sure is
50-50. So you have
Be in
50
arena
and
every
50
time. What is a
protections.
min-max?
Because
And
these items are fun,
250
and
hit
that's why
points. So
players
that's a
ask for
pretty
them to come
strong
back
item, man.
originally. We don't want to just nerf
Really
them into
strong
the
item.
ground
Of
so
course
that they're not viable, and then people
Yeah.
aren't buying them again. We're back to square one of where they're
you
not
start with
really in
30
the game.
and then you get
So
that extra
we want them to
20
be
when you go
viable,
below
and you can buy
75,
them in not just niche,
health,
niche
or
situations,
percent
but
health.
kind of whenever you want that, where it sees fit, but not in every scenario.
Yeah, it's a fine line, but that's how we work towards it. You just go back and forth
Yeah.
in little ways.
Iterative
So,
improvement, yeah.
iterative improvement. Well said.
All right, next one.
Next up,
Next two, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Hide of the
They just
Bohemian
increase
Lion
the
and then
cost,
Shield
I
of the
guess.
Phoenix
Oh,
as well.
they decreased
This
the
is
health
kind
on
of
the,
at
on
what
the
we
Shield of
expected. We
Phoenix.
put all of these items in a balance
Wow.
point that we knew was going to be high. We wanted to,
Decrease the
again, incentivize
reflection
players by
damage
giving
by
them the
2.5.
shiny, new, and good
Shiny.
things
Yeah.
to
I
play
hadn't
with
tried
here.
that
And
yet. I
they
bet you
certainly
on
were.
Hercules,
Bohemian
that'd probably be
is an
good, or
item
on,
that
the
did
Turtle
previously
Boy.
receive
What's his name?
a
Crucible.
rework because it was very frustrating to play against, and we saw, you know, mentions of that. That was one thing that we did mention that we were going to keep a very close eye on is this
I bet you
item
on
actually
Crucible, that'd be
frustrating?
crazy, dude.
And
with
so there
his,
was a little bit of
his
it, right? We
regular
definitely didn't
reflection,
see as much as
get
previous
shield
iterations
thorns
of this
and
item
that.
have given, but this again was a significant nerf to it to begin with. But we're just bringing it down a little bit. We still
then
want the
get that
tanks that
item
do
that
buy
when
this
you
to
get hit
feel
with
like
basic
they're getting
attacks,
that
it slows them.
anti-basic attacker value.
Yeah.
But we don't want it to be feeling like my whole health bar was
Yeah,
Ian.
exactly.
Yeah, right.
My
All right.
Crucible
Well, then
takes
after that, Shield of the
advantage
Phoenix as well.
this
Yeah,
and
it's
Mystic
funny. Some of these
Omen.
items,
Oh, yeah, I
actually,
bet.
Shield of the Phoenix is a good example. When we brought it back, we looked at the very last iteration of it that players had. Oh, this was my favorite item back then, and we brought that back. And actually, for Shield of the Phoenix, it was nerfed
It was
from
nerfed from the
that
last
point.
time, yeah.
So now we're having to nerf it even more. It just kind of shows you how strong this item
How
back
crazy
was
it is.
back then. So I think this should bring it in line a little bit, and this is for the tier 2 as well, which leads into this item.
Yeah, we just wanted to make sure that, you know, you are getting
Yeah, it's actually pretty
a good
strong
amount of
on
healing, and that's the
Cerberus.
big reason that you're buying this, right? You're buying it for the
Because
healing.
you gotta
If you're
remember with
getting all
this
that
item,
healing,
some people
you
don't understand
need
how
that
it
much
works.
extra
Yeah, you
health
can
on on top.
Bring down
It
that
triggers
the
off
max
your
health just a hair.
special abilities, right?
Just a little bit, and then again,
But
to bring the
only
health down
can
from
trigger
Shield of
off
Phoenix,
one
have to take some
special
from the tier 2
ability
as well, so that
per
does also
person.
affect the other item.
Yeah, as you're
So if you
building up
hit
to
this
it.
person
Makes a
with a
lot of sense.
special ability,
Awesome.
right?
Well, from there we're
and
moving
then
on
you hit
to
it again,
Aussie.
you don't get
Aussie
healed.
is
You have to hit two
indeed the
different
item.
people
So
from
again,
what I
we're kind of
saw
looking at
when
this
I
little
was
lifesteal
using it.
focus. I guess
I mean,
we'll
I
group
could
these
be
next two
wrong, but
together
that's
as
what I
well.
saw.
Yeah, let's do it.
Might as
Soul
well.
Eater as well.
So when I was doing the
Flat
combos, I was
pan
only getting
good.
healed once.
Flatman good.
Heard it here first.
Essentially, the summary of these two is that
Oh, the
Aussie has
decreased
kind of been the
physical power
predominant
on it? That
item in
sucks.
the duo lane in
Yeah.
terms of your lifesteal, and then Soul Eater's kind of found its way into solo, into sometimes jungle, into sometimes mid, into sometimes ADC. Really
It's
just
not a
depends on
lot,
what kind
but
of
yeah, it
characters are
kinda
getting
sucks,
played.
dude.
Yeah.
So essentially for Aussie, we're taking down the power a little bit, and you'll see why we're not going too crazy on this item in a little bit. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we talk about more lifesteal items. Spoilers. But yeah, Soul Eater is kind of the
So
one
they're
that
gonna
I
do
want to
another
spend a little
round
bit
of
more
nerf
time on
the-
here
the,
because,
frickin'
again,
life-
you
the
are
frickin',
kind of
life
working towards
steals.
this evolution.
Yeah.
The evolution has gotten easier and harder over time, depending on where it needed to be.
Yeah.
But right now, it's kind of, it takes a
easy.
little bit of time. Not
It's
crazy.
easy. It just takes time. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're there at the jungle buffs, you don't miss waves. It's easy. It just takes some time. But now it actually feels with this change, it feels like you get that spike at the end of it, that
Yes.
reward for hitting that evolution.
Exactly, and it kind of needed that, right? Because it was turning lanes into,
So it says that
your guys were
for
just
Soul
kind of dying
Eater,
really quickly,
now it only
or it
grants
kind of feels
flat
unfair
pen on
compared to a lot of
evolution.
other examples where, again,
Yeah.
So
like
does that
Devo's
mean it
Gauntlet
doesn't
is a
give it
really good
extra
example,
lifesteal
Crimson
anymore?
Claws,
Let me read-
Blood
well, I
Forge,
guess
all
I
those
could
other
read it
lifesteal
there, huh?
items don't really compete, and even the magical lifesteal items don't compete because they don't have pen on them. Well, the flat pen, I should say. But essentially, this is just kind of a way
Yeah.
to equalize all of that in terms of what that
They
early
just
laning
removed
phase
the
is going to look
lifesteal.
like.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, cool. All right, so we've talked a little lifesteal. Now let's move down a hair to Wing Shard.
Yeah, we got buffs now.
Yeah,
Let's
we got
talk
some
about
buffs.
Yeah.
So, of course, there are some shards in the game. Those are your early game kind of small, minor active abilities.
Yeah.
You could say. And Wing Shard is the clear least favorite right now.
Kind of the most fun, by the way. Can I just say that? Like, I think this is one of the
It is
most
a
fun
low-key,
ones.
yeah,
So
low-key.
it's like it was
do?
kind
Yeah.
of sad that it wasn't really viable for many situations. So buffing it almost doubled the duration. That's a
Yeah.
long time to be moving that much faster, to be attacking that much faster.
Oh, is this a
so
movement
should bring
speed?
them up in line with the other
Yeah,
ones.
it's a pretty significant duration increase. So you
Yeah,
will be
2
feeling
seconds is big.
this, or I sure hope you do, because that's a lot of extra movement speed you can be getting from level 1 as well. That's going to be nice on your junglers that really depend on sticking
yeah.
up to people. That could be good for early game hunters, even some early game warriors that are really
Hercules,
focused
although
on running
very
people
good.
down, positioning, things like that. It's going to feel really nice on those characters.
For sure, and like you said, just one of those mechanics that's fun to use. So
Yeah.
seeing that a little longer,
fast.
a lot of good opportunity there. So now we're on to Devos. Actually, the Devourer's
Yeah,
Gauntlet.
so let's talk about Devos.
Oh, nice.
So again, we've been seeing kind of
I
an
just started,
Aussie-dominated
using
meta
this on my
over in
Cupid.
Duo. There's been a
It's
couple
strong.
of Soul Eaters from
It
time
seems
to
to be
time, and
working pretty
Devos just
good.
hasn't really been competing, especially because it's an equal cost. You do get more lifesteal at a certain point if you're not accounting for Aussie's passive, so you get more lifesteal all the time, but it does take
stack it up.
a
Yeah.
time to stack it up.
Yeah,
So
you
we're
gotta put the
giving
work
it
in.
a bit of a gold advantage here to allow you to start stacking it a little bit faster,
Mm-hmm.
which is going to help it compete against those, especially because Aussie's had its power nerfed, and again, the penetration moved from the base of Soul Eater onto the upgrade.
Yeah, and as with everything, like just because Aussie is the most popular, maybe even like 90% of the lifesteal hunters are buying it, doesn't mean we want to just take away Aussie and give everybody Devos, right? We want to
Yeah.
bring them together, meet in the middle, so you can choose which playstyle you prefer.
Mm-hmm.
Makes a lot of sense, and with slightly cheaper, a little easier to buy into it. So, all right, so we're moving on to that. On from that to the boomerang. We got the bladed
Yeah,
boomerang.
kind of-
Another
Oh, wow,
fun
that's
item.
cool.
Similar
They increased
vibe
the
where
buff
the
duration.
other crit items are just so good. The boomerang has kind of fallen off.
Yeah.
in the
You didn't
backseat
catch
a
it.
little bit,
It didn't come
yeah.
back.
Or the other one. What's
Threw
the
it,
other
it
one?
just
Something
fell right
win.
there.
Nobody
So
even
we
uses
are
that crap
going to
no
kind of
more.
make this buff a little bit easier to work around. I know a lot of the time it's hard to put yourself in very specific positions to catch the boomerang or walk into the boomerang. So we want to make sure that you have the time where
Never
you feel like
used it?
you do it a couple times and you're able to keep it for a pretty good amount of time. It's still going. You're still going to
There's
have to
usually
manage it, but
so
we are increasing
chaotic
that buff
in
duration
arena
so that you
'cause
are
you get
able
all
to
the
keep
group fights
the
that sometimes
critical
it's
strike
hard to even
more.
see
So
those
it's a little
things
bit
when
more
they fall.
flexible in how you use using it, you're not going to have to
But
maintain
if
it
you're
as
using
much.
that
You will still have to
evolved
pick
soul,
it up, of course, to get the buff at all. but
Deathbringer,
a little
that
easier to
gives
manage.
you
Yeah, I mean, 10 seconds is a
more
long time.
crit,
This item is actually,
the
if
higher
you get the
over
stacks,
100
it's a
crit you
really,
get,
really
you have to
efficient
get this, dude.
and good
It just
item.
adds
So
it adds
allowing you
about
to stack it up
20%
in
more
a
crit.
longer interval is great. It's
So-
hard to get those auto attacks every
What's
6
that?
seconds,
I
but
think it's like
10
what?
seconds feels like it makes
1
the
point
world of
something.
difference.
You can
per
really make a
5.
concerted effort every 10 seconds. 6
You get an
seconds feels
extra
a little bit
5
tight.
A little
probably
tight, especially in
damage.
combat,
I
but
don't
like
know.
every 10 seconds, that's 4 more seconds. That's almost almost double the duration a little bit.
But you're going to
So, I
benefit
guess not
from it
exactly,
more
but
if you're going to build a
either way,
high crit.
very cool and yeah, fun
hunter.
to use. Boomerangs, hard to use real life and well, maybe not in Smite anymore, but in real life.
Give it power.
easier
Give
in
it
Smite.
power
Yeah,
or cooldown.
Smite makes
Give
it
power
easier,
cooldown.
so it's because you're good at programming
Increase magic
boomerangs.
protection.
So
from
next we're on
25,
to
increase
Winged
health.
Blade.
Yes.
Increase
Winged
crowd
Blade. I don't know if
control
you're gonna talk about
reduction.
this
Blade
one,
with
Mr.
wings.
Soul Laner.
Sure, I'll take it. Yeah, honestly, one of the most powerful items in the game, just kind of niche though. But if you're against a nemesis or a bunch of other slows on the team, Wingblade can just kind of save your life every single time,
pop off.
right? But it's just so niche. So we're making it, maybe if they just have a nemesis, but otherwise
Oh,
they
I
have a
don't
lot
know
of
they're gonna
hard
have that
CC. You
down
can
to
still
the
buy it
summer
just for the
skin or
nemesis, so
not.
we're upping its base stats a little bit to make it more worthwhile in itself. Very cheap item, 1850 gold still, I think. And for these stats, like 1850 gold is crazy.
Yeah. Essentially, we kind of talked about it last patch too, where we're like, in general, the weaker items with stronger passives just aren't very popular, especially when they're counter items.
Yeah.
On top
Having
of
the
that, not having the stats in your full build to really feel like you are
20% CC
tanky enough
reduction
to
is
do the
good.
things that you want to do
200
makes these
hit points
items
is good.
really
I mean, it's pretty
unattractive to a
good.
lot of
I
players,
mean,
and they
yeah.
don't really want to
25
pick up the counter item
protections,
unless
magical
it's like
protection.
a super needed counter. And we'll
I mean,
talk
you really
about that a
don't
little
need
bit
a
later,
lot
too.
of magical protection, so
Spoiler
I guess
again.
it's okay.
Wow, look at me go.
I know
Will I use
got all the
this? Probably
teasers
not.
sneaking in there. You're
But
efficient.
yeah, in order to make these kind of counter items feel good, we need
If
to
they
make
threw,
sure
like,
that their base
cooldown
stats are
on it,
also
though, that
up
would
to
be
snuff as
interesting.
well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
otherwise it feels like,
Like
well, I've got
10%
this item that
cooldown
just gives me
reduction,
so
that would
few
be
stats, and you get to
super
6
interesting.
items, you're like, I want more
Remeber
stats,
buff,
I'm just going to sell
Wingblade
this
gonna
cheap
be
item
But I
to make sure I
need
can buy them.
to be slow immune. Like I need to
Yeah.
cleanse it slow. They have
Plus,
so many
also,
slows.
just go fast. Like, it's so fun as, like, second item.
It
like,
cleanses your whole
you
team
can-
too,
but-
by the way.
Yeah,
Oh.
exactly. In
Well,
the range
and that's
around
the
you.
thing,
Like,
when
you
they
can,
upgraded this where
play
now it
Ymir or
cleanses your
somebody
whole
that has very
team,
little movement
that's
against a
pretty
bunch of slows,
strong,
and all of a
dude. That
sudden
is
you're actually
pretty
way more
strong.
mobile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's definitely
fun.
Well,
pretty strong,
taking it, like
especially
you said, out of that
against a
conditional and
Ymir
being a
or
little more,
something
it's
like
still
that.
good, and also conditionally really good.
Yes.
So
Yep.
nice. So moving on down the list, we have Dawnbringer, the big hammer.
Yeah, I guess you could say one of the big themes for this patch was to kind of take underutilized or long since meta items.
I'm not gonna
and
lie,
kinda
dude.
give it
I
a little
can't
bit
even
boost.
remember what the hell
Dawnbringer
the
was one of
passive
them.
is on
It's
this.
always been on the fringe, I feel like,
I
where it's
obviously never
almost
used
there.
it.
It's pretty
Yeah.
close
Is
to
this the
being
one that when you
relevant.
hit somebody, it puts
the
that
passive
little
is
orb on the
pretty-
ground
it's pretty
and you get
solid,
like
but
a
again, we are
attack
going to be
buff
increasing
or
the
something?
duration and just giving it a
I
little
can't
bit of help in
remember.
terms of cost and health to be more equal to the rest of the hammer tree in terms of that space. And you're really playing more so around the passive now. You're going to have it for longer. So when you get those really, really big ults where you're feeling like you hit a lot of people, you're getting a lot of stacks on it, that Dawnbringer buff's going to be around for even longer.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, if you buy this item on Osiris or Chalk and you're ulting in the enemy backline, you actually become like almost unkillable with how many prots
Very,
you get.
very
And then you're so mobile as well because of the movement speed. So
I'm
just
talking
having
about
these
Forge
base stats
Hammer?
on top of
Yeah,
that
I knew it was
makes
one
it
of
good in
them.
those situations where you haven't needed to ult.
I don't know what
but you
this
still
thing
have
does.
the,
I
I think
can't
it's got
remember.
HB5 on it as well, but your
What does it
health
give
and
you,
your power.
protections
So
then?
really good as an early game from its stats, and then the proc scales off of percentage of your other stats, so actually scales very well into the late game where you're using your ultimate more often in these big team fights.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm always a fan of the
don't know.
hammer tree too. It's the healthy
I'll have
herdy
to
tree.
look at it
You
later.
get stronger, you deal more. It's just a beautiful tree to
Sure
be
it
in.
is.
So, all right. So scrolling on down, Heartward Amulet is next on the list.
Yeah, Heartward is definitely an item that it once was super meta.
It
super,
was.
super meta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
then
kind
you
of
guys
fallen off
nerfed it
a
to
little
hell.
bit
Now
in
it's
terms of
garbage.
its value, even though it
I
has
want to
some
say,
really
did
powerful
this have
glyphs.
cooldown on
So
that
we
one
just want
time?
to kind of push
I wanna
again
say it had cooldown
to make sure
reduction
that
on
this
that
item
one
feels
time.
competitive in its stats, in its cost, and now it's even got mana on top of it, so it'll help contribute and have some more synergy
They need
to
more
some of
cooldown
those builds
reduction
that
items,
are
man. That's what they
MP5 or
need.
mana reliant.
Yeah.
Now you've got even more synergy there.
Yeah, it's just kind of pushing the theme of
'Cause,
this
like,
item as
today
well,
I was
adding it
looking
to
for
the mana
stuff to
alongside the
switch up
MP5
my,
that the passive has, so it's very
my
much
Shang
a
Shang
sustain
build.
item in terms of
There's
your health
nothing
and
that's
mana.
worth
So
getting.
I like this theme of this whole tree now.
Yeah.
I mean, his
Completely
build
agree.
is pretty
And
much
always
as
a fan of more
optimal as I
mana.
can
Running
get
out
it.
of mana is like one of the most painful
Which works fine. I was
experiences.
destroying
Play
it.
the game.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
just
one of
Items
our
and
abilities.
assault.
Right. All right. So Spear of the Mage is up next.
Yep.
Yep.
the spear.
Yeah, this is a fun one as well. It just a lot of mage cooldowns in the late game were shorter than 15 seconds, especially.
Item was
so it's
actually
just like,
interesting.
well, I'm not even
when
getting
you got
this. If I'm poking
12% more damage,
every
right?
10 seconds, I'm only
But
getting
now
Screw
that
the
they
Magus
nerfed
proc
it
on
to
every
5%
second
more
ability, right?
damage,
So
it's
bringing
like,
it down to 8 second really feels like
whatever,
we hit that
dude.
threshold of
5%
where you can
ain't
actually
crap.
poke and get this proc every single time you use your poke. So it feels a lot better and a lot more intuitive
I mean,
to
for every
use instead of
1,000
like
points of
watching your
damage,
item
you're doing
countdowns.
what,
Enough time.
50?
Yeah, unless you have, I don't know, Hebo 1 or something
Yeah,
like that. Something really, really short.
really-
Yeah,
cooldown, right?
I mean, the debuff lasts for 8 seconds, so you will
Yeah,
always
yeah,
be
exactly.
able to debuff someone when you want to debuff someone.
Yeah, you're
so
you're
you don't have to
literally
watch this
doing
cooldown as
50
much,
more damage
and
per
it's a cheaper
every,
price as well.
every
just to bring it
1,000
down.
points
Yeah,
of
more
damage you do.
competitive.
Yeah, just
It's
bring it
not
in line
worth
with the
it,
other
dude.
items. Cool.
Yeah, and this is just like we're kind of encompassing buffs in this. We
Not
talked
that
a
it's a
lot about
bad
how
item,
we
there's
want to.
just-
This is a
there's so
balance
many
patch
other
primarily,
better
right?
items out there
But
that
balance
you can
doesn't have
use.
to be just kind of anti-fun, just nerfs. Everything I
wish they
like
would've
is now
buffed
nerfed.
up
Like
the-
we're bringing a
the
lot of things
pass
up
of the
because that's
damage
just
you
the more
do.
fun way to do it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's exactly like you said. Inherently, making things worse, it'll make it easier on the people who are being tortured by it, I guess.
Sure, yeah.
But like for those people who are using it and having fun, it's like, oh man, that's awful. Like that was my item. So instead, if you just make other items competitive,
competitive,
and
right.
yeah, it just has the potential for more enjoyable experience. So I'm all for it. I think it's
Dude,
cool.
I used to love using
All right,
that
so
item,
continuing
too.
down the list, we have another cool staff. We have the Curse
Purdue.
Weaver.
Curse Weaver was kind of feeling left out after last patch when we buffed, what was it, E-Staff and Warlocks.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now Curse Weaver is here as well. This one is kind of also in line with TTK changes because max
Dude,
health
that
did go
one can
down.
do some
It's
good
getting a bit of
damage,
a bump
especially
there,
late
but also the
game.
mana. So if you
Dude, I
want to
was
be a little
hitting
bit
people for
more
over
mana oriented, buy a bunch
200
of
to
books if you're over in
300,
solo, or even
per
some
pop
mid laners I could see
when I was
going
using
this as
that
well.
on
Yeah.
my
It'll feel
cuckoo.
really nice.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
I will
I
die
mean,
on this hill. This item was good and is now
if it
even
had
better.
pin
It's
on
just
it, it'd
in
be
niche
OP.
situations, right?
But
Your
I don't know,
Cthulhu
it's
solos
situational,
now
I
you're actually
guess.
getting a lot more damage while keeping.
I
that
just liked
tankiness
it because
if
I
you
was
can pull
getting
this
more
item off in
mana
first
early
or
game
second
when I
item. So
used that
try
as
it
the
out.
number 2
See how you like
spot.
it. You get to see the number pop on your screen. That's always
True.
good. So yeah, just try it out.
Yeah,
There is.
with how good it is, I guess we'll have to take the little sad
Early
ghost
game, it
inside
does
and give
really
a
good
smile.
damage.
Yeah, I'll be smiling.
So we'll work on that. But all right, on I guess from a staff to a rod, which I think is also kind of a staff, rod up to
Yeah.
Hootie, plus the glyph.
Yeah, and the glyphs.
Glyphs.
We're giving a little
Wow,
10
that's
power
good.
bump here.
That's really good.
Just because we want to make sure the mages are feeling like their late game builds
No,
are really coming
you
online.
shouldn't
and
use it
feeling like they've
last
got their power spike.
because
It's definitely felt like
the
there's been
reason
a bit
that
of a
I wouldn't
a
use it last,
rivalry
I would use
between
it
which class
first,
is more valuable come
is
the late
because
game.
it's
So we wanna make
based
sure
on the
those
amount of
late
mana you
game
have and
damage dealers
health you
of the
have
magical
combined.
variety
You get
are
5%.
able
Now
to find
7%
those
of your
cap
health
items if they want them.
7%
Yeah,
of your
and similar
mana,
to Hardwood,
right?
this is kind of like
So,
another OG item. That's
I mean,
just,
starting
the more
out,
times we
you're gonna
add
have
items,
at
we
least
buff other
700,
items,
800, so
we
you're
add
looking at
new effects and
1400,
new
right?
gods. This one's just
But
kind of
it's-
slowly fell to the wayside.
fact of the matter
We're seeing
is
less
the
productivity
enemy
these days,
has
so bring it
less
up a little
health.
bit. should
They
make it a
have
little
less
bit more fun.
defenses.
Makes sense.
So
You
having
can't
a
fight with
high
that, plus it's
proc
got a lot
with
more
like
power.
this on top
So
of a
continuing
sundering
the
axe,
the magical
you do
journey,
a
we
lot
have
of
Charon's
burst damage
coin
with
plus
that.
its evolution.
So early
Yeah,
game,
this is a fun one.
you can
So,
almost one-shot
Charon's coin has
somebody.
always had this fun little
depending on
flavor
your build.
text where
That's
every
why it's
time you
good to
flip
build
the
it early.
coin, which is getting a killer
'Cause you don't need
assist,
that
you
much
get
pin.
1 gold. Well,
They
now
don't
you
have
get
no
15
protections.
gold. Let's actually
Oh.
make this mechanic
Now,
part
late game,
of
yeah,
the
it'll be
item,
better,
the
but they'll
things
have
that you
more,
want to actually care
more,
about. So
they'll
again,
have
we
more
have kind of
protections
items like
late
this
game, so you
before
probably
where
can
it's
do
not
less
quite a
damage.
snowball item
I mean,
per
not
se,
less
Yeah.
damage,
but you do get a
scaling
more
wise.
significant chunk of change now that's going to be added on top of that killer assist gold.
Are you telling me?
Now, if it was based off your attack power,
Oh, well,
that'd
no,
be a whole
timing
different
guide. Never
animal,
mind, I
but
can't.
It's not based off
I was
your
going to
attack
recommend
power.
what a great item for the Go for Gold event, but now we didn't want to make it too easy for you. That's why it's coming out next week.
And next
Yes.
week, next week.
Man, I don't know what calendars are. Don't look at me. All right, well, super cool though. And how often do you get to say that a mechanic or like some part of an item was buffed times 15? You know?
It was
Yeah,
a bit
that
of
is
a
crazy.
meme
Yeah, it
mechanic
was.
before.
Yeah.
Now it's not a meme.
And
Now
it-
it's
yeah,
real
now it's just a
mechanic.
Yeah.
mechanic. Yeah.
And it's still not crazy. We don't want to introduce a ton of snowball,
yeah.
but now it's actually significant as well. And maybe you might think, oh, I get 300 gold for a kill, but that's not all the time. Sometimes you might only get like 100 gold. If they're 4 levels below, you actually get 0 gold. But with Charon's coin, you would actually get something. So relative to how far or behind or ahead of you are, you'll get 15 flat gold is kind of just always good. It's hard to complain about. It's much better than 1, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, for
Definitely
sure.
better
And it's one of those
than
things
one.
where again, 15 gold
15
doesn't
times
really
better
mean
than it was
anything. I can't buy
before.
anything.
But it adds
with
up.
that.
Is it still
yeah,
any-
you have it
is
for
it still
10 minutes,
relevant?
and you're like, oh, I got free
Probably
pots,
not.
free. Like
That's
it's
right.
negating
And
it's
you
like,
sword.
get
whatever.
kills? Are
Yeah.
you a part of 10
Now, for
kills? You get
conquest where you're playing like an hour, yeah, maybe.
Just
But for
participate.
arena,
250 gold. That's not nothing.
Yeah,
It's
that's I
like-
mean that's a couple wards that were offset.
okay, it's
you
a
know?
nice
Also to
little
encourage
perk
people to
if
actually
you're
go
already
for these
using it, I
stacks as
think.
well, because
Yeah.
you definitely
It's
want
nothing
this
that's
item
going
at
to
full
make me
stacks
run
as
out
soon
and
as
have to
possible.
I mean,
use
this
it if
even
I'm not
happens
already
after the
using
full
it.
stack
And I
too,
do
so
use
you
it on a
keep
couple of my
getting-
builds.
Keep flipping that coin.
Keep flipping it.
Awesome. So now we're moving on down the list. The shiny green stone of Gaia.
Sure did. Son of Gaia, another very niche counter item. Perhaps one of the most
I used to buy
niche-
this a lot at like Assault.
Oh yeah, I mean the region is really nice.
Oh,
But
yeah.
here's the thing about this item: is we're swapping it up a bit. You used to only get the power on this item when the passive was activated, which means you get it for a short period of time, which is nice. But now you get it while the passive is not up. So now, as the enemy playing against it, you don't feel too terrible about knocking them up. They get the healing, sure, but they lose the power. They're doing less damage to you, and now they're trading it off for getting some healing. So for the player, you're just getting power, which is nice.
Yeah.
And for the enemy, you're getting rid of their power.
Yeah, like you talked about how you like the hammer items because they're like health but also power. This is that as well. This is kind of
I remember
you
when
can
this
hit people
item
with
used to
this
give
gem,
you
I
like
guess. You know,
400
it's
health, man. It
stronger
was
in that
crazy.
regard, and people.
No, it
you know,
might have
I-
gave you more than that at one time, but I know for sure it was 400 for sure at one time. Uh-oh, what happened?
more damage on your defensive
Okay,
items.
that's on their end. Uh-oh.
All right, so moving on, we have a mighty sword. We have Equinox.
Equinox, yes. So this item was once
Did it not pay
incredible,
their internet bill?
amazing,
Oh.
It
very
was.
OP.
We promise.
And then we nerfed it, and it's kind of just
That'll
vanished
happen.
off the face of the battlefield.
Well, we also added 8
Yeah, it's
more, or
350
returned
health
8 more
now, but it used to be
incredible,
over
powerful
400.
items.
Yeah, stone cutting sword.
Because I used to use it on
compete with this
Hercules.
guy a
It
little
was
bit.
ridiculous on Hercules, dude. Because
So
then
this
it
is
used to
just
give you like
this is actually a revert,
ridiculous
so bringing the damage back up to
HP5
where it
at
was
one
on
time, too.
release, I want to say. Maybe a patch
Yes.
after, I can't remember. But yeah, so this is bringing it back up,
So it
which
used
was
to
very
work really
popular back then.
really
We'll see
good.
if we have the same kind of result this time. I think it was really popular because it was a new item and everyone wanted
mean,
to
it
try
still
it
might
out.
be
And
good. I
it
don't know.
actually
I don't use it,
became a little
but-
frustrating for some people. So we nerfed that damage, and then the popularity went away, and then we introduced stone cutting item, sword, and a bunch of other items.
Increased
And so
passive
now it's just fell to the
damage per
wayside, right?
level
So now we're
from
bringing
2
it
to
back.
3.
Yep, exactly.
I love the obviously my brain
I
is
don't use
constantly
this
interrupting
Equinox
the words I
either,
say,
but
but I
bet
love
you
the
it'd be
idea of
pretty
having
powerful
something
on
called
that
it. We brought back
Nemesis.
stone cutting item. Just the word item in an item name is just so
many items.
it's
these
funny
days.
to me. Oh no,
Stone
yeah.
cutting item.
Stone cutting item. That sounds like that's a me quote. I'm keeping that one. All right, so next up, Abyssal Stone. We have another shiny rock.
This might be
That's
one
actually
of the
kinda
biggest
crazy.
buffs in this patch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lay it on me then. Let's go.
There is no more cooldown for this item. You
How is
will
that?
persistently be applying negative 20% cooldown reduction to everybody you hit with your abilities.
Yeah.
Just forever.
That's like the value in. Think of the value.
So
you
if I
invest a lot
remember
of gold
correctly,
to
is
get a 20%
Abyssal
cooldown
Stone the
reduction item.
one
Yeah.
that
Earner's Pendant does
adds
more than that,
cooldown
gives
to
stats and
people?
everything.
Or is
but
that
you're
the
looking
Stone
for
of Binding?
20%
I can't
cooldown.
remember.
This item can just take that away from your team. Like, that is incredibly strong in terms
That
of its
is so
value.
cursed.
And it's hard to feel this item because it doesn't you're not putting a bunch of like FX, or you're not slowing them down so they're moving slower. You're not doing extra damage to them. They're just doing less to you, or they're doing things less often to you.
Yeah.
So it's hard to feel, but trust me, your enemies will feel this even if you don't feel it.
Yeah, the
So,
enemies
yeah,
are
it's
feeling
someone
it
that-
here and here
that-
with brain aneurysms and
And
heart
adds
palpitations.
20% cooldown
Yeah,
reduction,
just
I believe.
make sure that you check this one out because this is a big buff.
Yeah, that's cool.
Dude, if
That's one of
you
those
had
too, where
this and
especially if
hit
you're
frickin'
boxing with another mage
a
and you have
Cerberus
this,
early game?
and they're they're a veteran.
my
They're
lord.
expecting their escape to be up right in just a couple seconds, and all of a sudden it's a little further away than they
Yeah,
thought,
dude.
and they're like, "Did
This
it eat my
item's
input? What's
a
going on?"
nightmare
No,
if you
your
play
cooldown was
Cerberus, man.
increased a little.
Early game.
You're
Yeah.
not getting away from this fight like that. There's so much potential there.
And
So.
this is also just removes a lot of frustration as well, because sometimes
Yeah, that's what I thought. This
you would
is the
hit
one
an
I was
AoE
thinking about.
ability, but it could only proc on one person in that amount of time. Now it's going to proc on all
Everybody.
of them anytime.
Oh, that's
you don't have
so
to watch
great.
this item's
Oh,
cooldown because
wow.
it doesn't have one anymore.
Oh, wow.
Big change.
Dude,
I love
this
that.
on a
There's
Kukulkan
so many
now.
use cases. All right,
There's
so
no
moving on to a
cooldown.
less purple
so you
and more
can
green rock, we
literally
have
everybody you
erosion.
hit has
Yeah, this is
20%.
kind of the same idea, not
more
quite
cooldown.
as
That's
extreme,
craziness.
but
Yeah.
erosion does have a buff that you gain
I'm gonna have to
when
look
you are
at
around
that.
the
I'm gonna have to
shield.
look
And
at the
so that
stats on it.
or that
I
buff
might-
rather lasts for 4
I might
seconds, but
test
the
that one.
effect where you are decreasing shields is all the time.
Yeah.
So we figured, okay, well, this buff is nice. It's a nice buff. It's a movement speed
It's
buff.
a good
I
buff.
love to have a little movement speed,
Decrease
but
passive
it doesn't
cooldown
make
from 10
all that much
seconds.
sense that you are still decreasing shields, but you're not getting anything from it. So I wanted to make this again 100% uptime, where buff lasts for 4 seconds, cooldown's 4 seconds, so you can always have it if they keep reapplying shields. So
Yeah.
this is a pretty convenient ability for characters like Yamoja, for Charon, for characters that even like Nemesis, characters that get shields. Odin,
Yeah, all the time.
Nike, just all the shields.
Yeah.
Good against them.
Yeah.
Fight against
Can you
shields.
name the rest of the shields real quick?
Geb.
Birdwing.
I think that's all of them. Yeah, that was it. Geb was the only one.
There's
we were
maybe
missing.
like one more that I'm forgetting.
I'm sure
There's
among
some
the
out there.
100,000 gods in the game. All right, well, cool. Yeah, that's fun though. Yeah, especially as somebody who loves tanks. I mean, shields all the
There you go.
time. So, all right, so moving on to the Blue Rock Archmage's Gym. We're in
This
the
might
Rock Arc.
be the biggest power buff
Wow.
in all of Smite history, maybe.
All of Smite.
Wow, that's a huge jump,
85
dude.
to 120.
I was here.
That's
Yeah, that's a ton of
huge
power
jump.
just
That is
Wow.
a lot of power.
You have abilities that scale, of 100% power. They're just doing an extra
Yeah.
35
Holy
damage
crap.
at the time of the game.
35 more. That's
Yeah.
Sure is.
insane.
And Archmage, scaled up power.
Scales like, yeah. So it's scaling off of its own buff. That's meta.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, it's very
Sure
thematic
is.
in the way that it
It's-
acts.
It's very
I might have to look at that
helpful
one,
in
too.
that way, I think, as well. And this
Yeah.
item has definitely been on the short end of the stick.
knows?
For
Maybe
a
John
long
News
while
might be
compared to its
able
compatriot,
to
which
get over
has
his
percent
2,000K
increase.
ults
So
again.
instead of that, you're just getting a lot more power, which is going to influence the way that you want to kind of build into it.
The hit hard rock. Nothing wrong with that. So
Or the
you're
Scylla.
eating mages. Get out
The
there and deal a lot of
Scylla
damage.
2K.
Speaking of
I
eating,
remember when I used to
so maybe-
Speaking of
crit for like
yeah,
2,400
right?
with Scylla.
Rejuvenating heart.
She was so OP.
This item is definitely some. It has
niche.
had some success. Again, pretty
Yeah.
niche. Pretty unpopular. So what we're doing here is just making it a little bit more equal to the rest of the items, and we're also increasing the range to be a little bit more similar to other friendly auras of this
Right.
kind of similar nature and effect in terms of healing. So yes, the 55 range is going to be nice, and then bumping up
Yeah.
the power by 10, going to be a little bit more applicable in all of those
Why is
lifesteal-oriented builds. Could even be applicable in a support
Their
build if you're
stream
building
looks
one
like
up.
crap.
Yeah, and this is like, I mean, the range is a strict buff, right? But it's also just like a feels good buff because it's very easy to measure distance. Because 55
Yes.
is almost everyone's basic attacks, right? So everyone understands that distance. If they're within a basic attack range of you, even if they're friendly, then they're getting this effect. It's much easier to measure that way.
Yes, I mean, and it's one of those things you can spot check all the time by just throw an auto attack, say, all right, that's generally
1080p,
it.
hopefully
Especially
that
if you're
looks
somebody
better
who's
now.
still kind of learning those ranges. Again, you throw an auto attack, oh, it dissipated right there. There's my line in the sand.
Yep.
So
Cool.
awesome. So moving on from the fun heart staff to the violent claws, we got Crimson Claws.
Sure do. Crimson Claws. This item was honestly pretty popular on
Yeah.
its introduction into
Yeah.
the game.
It had its day.
But we're
Oh,
doing a bit
man,
of a
they
shift
reduced
up
the
here
the
because
physical
this
attack
item was
power.
kind of supposed to be like the
But they gave you
what would
more
you call it?
lifesteal.
Like synergistic
I mean-
lifesteal item for physicals, where the
Yes.
more lifesteal you have, the more easier access you have to the shield.
Okay.
So we're bringing the cost down by a bit here. It still is the most expensive beyond Bloodforge of the lifesteal items in the tree. A little bit less power, but a ton more lifesteal.
Yeah.
A
Oh,
ton
yeah.
more lifesteal.
This item has attack speed as well. So actually late game, when you talk about like Hunter DPS, for example, this ends up being a really efficient
Yeah, it's
item
really
in terms
powerful
of just
for hunters,
hardcore
dude.
DPS
Really
damage,
powerful.
right?
In
So
fact, I
bringing
use
it
it
up
on
in
and
terms
off
of its
on
life
pretty much
steal to make it
all my
more
hunters.
equal with the Devourer's
Depending
Gauntlet,
on
Soul Eater,
the
and stuff like
situation,
that,
the
makes it
build.
much more
It works
applicable
really
to
good.
be able to buy in the early game, but take advantage of the attack
Because the
speed
cool
in
thing
late
about game.
game.
this one is if you
But
attack
also it's just
somebody
like a
and you're
fun
not
item
hurt,
in terms of
every
it's
time
kind
you
of
hit
like,
somebody,
not
you
Bancroft,
build the
it's like
shield
Typhons in
up.
a way where you
So
kind
it's
of get
pretty cool.
more from your overhealing, right? You kind
So
of
for your
overheal with
AMC,
that
your-
shield,
your,
so you can stack it with another
your
lifesteal
freaking,
item as well
Cupid,
as if you want.
this works
It has
really,
a lot
really
of
well.
synergy with other lifesteal.
Yeah.
Yep, yeah. So you can kind of go a lifesteal build the same way as you would if you were a mage with Typhons.
This just kind of opens up that area a little bit more versus it being kind of a direct competitor to Aussie or Devos or anything
Yeah.
like that.
Again, like you said, it's not about making other things worse. It's about bringing everything kind of as close to possible.
It's a whole new avenue.
It's
That's
a
right.
whole new avenue. I like that. All right, so moving on, we have Pythagorum's Piece.
Lifesteal, once again.
Lifesteal.
I still shudder when I see this item.
Don't worry,
Tell us how you really
don't
feel.
worry. We had to nerf this item quite a bit going into the Season 10 worlds because there was quite a bit of a solo lane mage meta, and this is kind of
Yeah.
one of the items that sat at the forefront of
Little
it.
troublemaker.
We're not buffing it back in quite the same way. We are making it a little bit cheaper, so again, more oriented towards those supports if you guys want to get it. Solo laners it's also applicable on, but not for the same reason.
Yeah.
The lifesteal on this item is going up by 3% to make it just a bit more competitive
Yeah.
across the lifesteal, and this is only on the aura as well. So it is not directly yours. You still do get it, but it's more impactful on the people around you than it is for yourself.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and it being 2250 really kind of just pulls it into range of those supports where you can give them that buffed aura now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Handy dandy. Bancroft's Claw is next on the list.
Yep, we've got a whole slew of glyphs here, kind of underbought glyphs for us to take a gander at.
All right,
So
let's
Bancroft's
fire
Claw
through them, yeah.
is the first one. This one's getting a decreased cooldown from 15 seconds to 10
Wow.
seconds and increased max health, damage, and shield from 0.5
This works
to 1%.
very, very well on
Yeah,
the
I
Nubis.
think this one
dude.
could be a
'Cause
revert
it
or
gives you
close
that
to
extra
it. This item was very
protection
popular
like he
on
needs 'cause he's a
release.
sitting
If you
duck
want to
most
go
of the time.
full
It works
damage
very well on
and
Anubis.
lifesteal Anubis, you
In
end
fact,
up
that
with like a
last
ton
build,
of
that
health.
video
Or
I did
played full
actually
damage and
incorporated
lifesteal
this
on
item, and it
Kraken,
worked
you
out
end up with a ton of
beautifully.
health as well. So like it was
I
really
really
popular on
liked it.
release. We had to nerf it back down. This is bringing it back up towards that point to just increase the buy rates.
Yeah.
Nice. Big Anubis fan, so you're never going to hear me
Yeah.
complain. Amulet of Silence up next.
Yeah, this one is getting another increased passive range compared to its previous ones. This one is an enemy one, but 55 is also just pretty easy to tell. Again, like Bro was talking about, if you are within that basic attack range and you use an ability, they're getting a stack on their amulet. Just keep that in mind. And cooldown also going down is going to mean more silences, more problems for your enemies.
More silences, more problems. So we're moving on to the perfected Rod of Tahuti.
Yeah, this one was just kind of the less popular one of the two.
Yeah, and it's kind of in line with some of the other changes, like Spirit of the Magus, where we're changing the duration or the cooldowns of these items. They just become easier to play with, right? You don't have to track them as closely, and you still get all the benefits and the fun of the item without, you know, the downsides of like tracking a cooldown or tracking a really short duration and being rushed to actually use that short duration buff. So 6 seconds, I mean, literally double. It's much easier to use.
Yeah, a lot more friendly for the, all right, I can figure out what I want to do with this now and not just
right.
Go. So, all right, Reverend Pridwin is up next on the list.
Yeah, this one tends to be less popular. This one's not as so severe in the difference between the two as these other glyphs, but this is the less popular one just because players tend to like the ones that are more aggressive, that they have, you know, a little bit more agency with. This is kind of the more defensive one. Bigger shield, but also bigger damage, just longer time.
So I don't use it no more.
This one's easier to counter as well, so it's a little safer to buff,
and I would
but
never
you can
use this
still
one,
sunder
this one
it,
just
you know,
didn't make
curse. You can
sense
get
for
this shield off pretty easily when it comes to those tools. So just buffing it to hopefully bring its buy rate up a little bit in line with the other one.
Yeah.
Cool. Makes sense. I'm right there with you. Breastplate of Vigilance next on the docket.
Another range increase. This one is going to match more of those other kind of more protective auras, being like 70. Your Sovs, your Heart Wards. That range is typically 70, so this is also going to sit in the 70 range as well.
Yep.
Beautiful. And last but not least, and scary, Malicious Deathbringer.
Malicious Deathbringer. This is going to be very exciting. Very exciting.
Yeah, so if you, the more you crit, the more you reduce your cooldowns. That was previously just on your normal abilities and not on your ultimate specifically. Now we're unlocking it.
Your ults can be
reduce
affected
the cooldown
by
of your ultimate once again. You can buy
Malicious
Boom's Hammer in this, and you can go around and crit people, and you can get a 30-second ultimate cooldown if you want.
Let's remember, by the way, you have to crit gods.
It's not minions.
You can't farm enough minions. You gotta fight a god.
That is huge.
What a shame. I was going to just play Neath, farm minions, and just ult all game. That was going to be great, but oh well. I just have to box a little bit, but... Well, cool.
Heck, even for
done it for the items. A lot of fun balance there. A lot of mixing it up, you know. So excited to see how some of these items now compete with some of the stuff that's been a little more, as we talked about. Some of the stuff that's been kind of the, we have to buy that, you know. So always love to see things shaken up a little bit.
I'm gonna mess with the high crit Neath build.
Sure are.
Just to capitalize off this.
Let's just get into it then.
And then I'm going to try building this maybe
yes,
very
a very kind of surprise star.
Right? It kind of popped off out of
early
nowhere.
Game meta, especially with some of the changes to her ultimate that she got recently to make it a lot more accessible and versatile.
Oh, yeah.
We're starting to kind of pull that back a little bit by removing the damage mitigation that she gets on it. She's now perfectly capable of being able to fend for herself if she's fighting one person now. She gets healing, so that's also
basically mitigations in its own right.
And then, of course, Threads of Light is the fun secondary part of the one, which is the triangle. And this is kind of going to be more focused on the points and for those really good eShell players versus the kind of weaker eShell players that don't tend to have as extreme success as the more, tenured eShell players.
Yeah, it's because they BS for like 30 minutes of the show.
It is a small triangle, so.
It is. So a character that let me just go back and say, I remember the launch and I was like, man, we really let our team just go in and play with colors for this one, and it is really cool. So beautiful to watch. Like every time you play with one, it's like, oh, that's nice. There's all the colors. So anyway, side note, keeping moving on. John Kui up next.
Yeah, this one's kind of just directly in line with the TTK changes we made, right? We reduced everybody's protections and health, but primarily protections. So bringing his protections down from his passive was kind of necessary. In hindsight, we probably should have done it last patch, to be honest. But now he's just getting less protections, and he gets double from his ultimate as well, right? So this is bringing it down even more during his ultimate state.
This is almost a direct revert.
Right. Yeah, and these were just like, he was so tanky in the early game, especially when he ulted. He was almost unkillable unless you have like a nemesis ulting him and removing these protections.
Eating them back off.
Right, so we're removing some of them ourselves and just taking them down in line a little bit to what it should be for these post 9.5 revo changes.
post 9, but 9.5 has been a crazy time.
A lot of that, yeah.
It's been fun though. All right, so King Arthur next on the list.
Yes, this is should be probably
Yeah, I
no
haven't played
shocker.
him in
With
a long
one
time.
Shield of Phoenix and one King Arthur together, they become very strong.
He became help.
And well, one thing that we did kind of previously to King Arthur was add HP 5 to the stacks of Steadfast, which is his passive, and that kind of helped him when he was missing some of that sustain from Shield of the Phoenix. But
Okay.
now that that's back, he doesn't really need it anymore.
You don't really, yeah.
And then beyond that, we're also going to be increasing the cooldown of his main clear abilities, Overhead Slash and Hamstring.
In the early game.
In the early game, yeah, like Rose said, just to kind of slow him down a
Yeah,
little
King
bit
Arthur
because
is really
he needs it
strong.
less
Yeah,
than-
he was
He's
going a little
kinda,
crazy.
but
Yeah,
he's one
and
of those
he's getting cooldown as well from
risk
Shield of the
reward
Phoenix,
type
whereas, like,
gods because
the-
he's very
the
hard
previous
to
meta
learn.
build when he
but
had
once
this
you
HP5
learn
and
him
Shield of
and
the Phoenix wasn't in
understand
the
his
game,
capabilities
was
and
kind of
his
just like
combos,
hard items
dude,
or like
he's a
contagion
pain
that
in the
didn't have
butt to kill
CDR,
in
so he
arena.
could have these short cooldowns. But now he's getting CDR as well as
I mean,
these
you
short
can, like,
cooldowns. It was a little
1v3.
too much. Same story for the HP5 that we're removing. You know, a little too much sustain when you combine them together. So this should just bring it back in line a little bit to more what King Arthur was before Shield of the Phoenix was removed, or when it was Gladiator
You
Shield.
can still have your fun with your healing,
Yes.
but you can't do it as
I
often.
can't play him. It's just too much.
All right, so for this
clicking.
next one,
My
I like to
hand's
think I'm
jacked
kind of,
up.
you know,
It's just-
level-headed,
my hand literally
open-minded,
hurts
but
after
I
playing
mean,
him.
it's you're nerfing Mulan a little bit. I guess maybe it had to happen, but I'm
Sometimes
just
we have to do
not
the
a
hard
fan- Not a
things.
fan of
Yeah.
it personally, but you know, go ahead.
Well, a lot of people are not going to like that.
Essentially, Mulan we got a couple of nerfs in the previous patch, and it kind of wasn't enough. Her stats didn't change really all that much, especially because Shield of the Phoenix came back. I mean, she kind of just loves that.
Shifters.
Yeah.
All you
Shifters,
gotta
yeah,
do is
those
press
are all
2, 2,
really
1,
good
1,
items
3,
for
3.
Mulan. So what we're doing is we're
2,
doing a
2,
couple
1,
of things,
3,
right?
3.
Training Arc is, of course, the part of her passive that evolves the rest of her
Quests,
kit.
yeah.
Her quests, yeah, that she has to do to get mastery on her different weapons. So what we're doing is we're increasing the requirement to get to the 3rd rank, the fully mastered forms, which gives her
Dude, I remember when
power
Mulan
buffs,
first
movement
came
buffs, all
out, I
those things. We're doing this
hated
pretty
her. She
early
was
in the
so
game, we're
glitch.
pushing them back
She
pretty
felt like
significantly,
crap.
actually.
Now
From
she's actually
4,500
pretty
for
strong.
both the sword and the spear, the 1 and the 2
Especially if you
respectively,
can land her
to 6,500 to
Scorpion,
by
get over
2,000,
here,
and
right?
then the bow from 1,200 damage to 2,000 damage.
Yeah, the bow especially was really, really easy to stack once.
Yeah.
It became kind of just easier to hit because we allowed it to be aimed easier during
Yeah,
the cast.
it really did help.
So it was just, you were getting those protections from that max rank really, really early in the game, and it was very powerful. So now you just kind of have to hit these abilities a little more often. And Spear Thrust, you have the less opportunities because you have an extra 1 second cooldown. That just should bring her back in line with a more balanced era of Mulan, where she can still buy these really powerful items in Shield of the Phoenix and Shift to Shield, but should still be more balanced now that we've adjusted the main part of her kit.
That makes sense. Well, you know what that means, fellow Mulan players. They want us to be more violent to get our stacks. So
No.
let's poke harder, I guess.
No.
All right. So
This is
moving on, we have
craziness.
Medusa up next.
They hit.
Another character
They
that
freaking nerfed
excelled,
Medusa again.
Yeah.
in previous
Still
patches.
puzzles me.
Did
Hit her
receive a nerf.
stride, some could say.
Come
Sure did.
on,
Slithered.
dude. I just started
And,
messing with her
she
too.
needed more nerfs, essentially. As we got her last time, we didn't get her good enough. though.
Karma.
So we're going back in with a couple more
Alright.
nerfs. Decreased scaling on Viper Shot, Acid Spray, also getting an increased cooldown to slow down her early game clear, and then Petrify getting a bump down in both the base damage and the scaling.
Yeah, this one was
But at
puzzling
least
to
they
me.
didn't say
Like we
Kukulkan yet,
in I think 9.5, not 9.5, in 11.6.
Tell you what,
9.5,
whoever's
remember,
doing this,
3
they
years
need to
ago.
update their windows.
we
man.
buffed our movement speed
Their
by
Windows
like 5
has an update.
Yeah.
because we wanted to increase some other things in the character as well. But 5 movement speed was very thematic for her, and then her win rate just like shot through the roof.
Exploded.
Like absolutely insane. Went up by like 8%, which is
Oh, yeah?
unheard of. But that was because we did the 9.5 revert at
Are
that
you
same
crying?
time, and
Very good at killing.
she's an early game character. She
Are you
likes
crying?
killing people.
Are you
and just-
crying?
yeah, at that same time, her win rate just shot through the
crying.
roof. We did know for her last patch, I think
There's
it
no
was.
crying in
Maybe it was a balance
Smite.
patch, but yeah, like just we couldn't bring it in line. So now even more, we'll hopefully do the trick.
Once
Yeah.
again, we try.
Yeah.
It's crazy
Then I
how
will be crying.
in
Because
Smite and a lot of other
freaking
games
whirlwinds
too.
are
Like for
so
those of you who game
freaking
with me,
weak
you'll,
right now,
like,
unless
you know,
really build
movement speed's one of those
tight
things that like in a lot of games, you're like, oh no, I need more damage. I need to use my power fast. Yeah,
Some
but
of them
movement
need to-
speed across
to
a
nerf
huge
their
variety
ult
of
with
games.
freaking,
You adjust it just a
Janus,
little
man. His
higher,
ult
and
is
the
so
whole
freaking
game is
weak,
like,
dude.
wow, this is really easy. Nothing can hit. Like crazy how it's so simple, but ooh, it can be a pivot point. So anyway, now we're moving to another lady. We got Freya.
Yeah, when you
Freya.
bring back Fatalis, you bring back Ring of Fakate, Freya sure does come back, and she comes back swinging.
How many tweets did we see that said Fatalis Freya, you said.
That was,
Like,
It was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot. We knew y'all were about to get on that.
yeah, it's good. We like intriguing players and them to be excited about like a new item that's
for
coming.
sure.
So it's good. We want to
Oh,
keep
no,
the item.
they
We did
do
nerf it
that,
a little
I'll be
bit,
pissed.
but we'll bring the character back in line now that she has
If they
this
make it
item
where
back
you're
on the
anchored
menu.
when
has
you
more tools.
lock somebody
She has
with
early game
Nox,
pen.
that's going to
She's got
destroy
a
her.
power, scaling if she does go
It's
for
not.
her
It wouldn't even
Kante.
be worth playing her
All
no
very,
more.
very good stuff from Miss Freya. Fatalis, though, does break the camel's back a bit, I will say.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we're bringing down a radiate damage, we're increasing the cooldown of Pulse, and we're also increasing the cooldown of Valkyrie's Discretion. Just give players a little bit more time and opportunity to chase down the Freya when she's not chasing you.
Yeah, right. That brief moment.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, good stuff there.
Well,
I just
there you go.
sorry, I was
There's
reading
your
the dev
Chang'e.
note with the Fatalis, how Freya missed you, and I was like, yeah, there it is.
Sure did.
All right, Chang'e up next.
It's another one we've struggled to get in line, with these TTK changes, and she excels with flat pen. There's flat pen on
Yeah.
Doom Orb now as well.
Increased
Dude, they
damage.
hit
I
every
saw-
single one of the
Yeah,
guys
we
you
saw a
like,
lot
however.
of blink chungas that were just like
Almost
blink
every
alt
single guy
1
you
3
play, they
or
nerfed.
3 1,
Holy
and
crap.
they were just dead, right?
Blink,
What'd you
cool
do to
dance,
him,
I'm
man?
dead.
You get,
Yeah,
you
so
make them
we
mad?
reduced. I think we reduced the passive a little bit,
Golly.
maybe, and Staff of Mirrodin because they were definitely very popular together because they were
Yeah.
just multiplicative, and then now we're having to reduce the ultimate and the
For, like,
1
the
damage as
targeting,
well, which
I
are our
know,
main
right?
sources of damage in those burst combos. So hopefully bring her back in line. She can still do that combo, but maybe not 100 to 0, maybe 100 to 90 instead, or 10 rather.
That's where we're aiming for.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're shooting for.
At least give the enemies a chance to react.
Yeah, just a little bit. All right, so it looks like we're moving kind of into a buff next up.
Yeah.
And it's like one little thing for Jingwei. It's
Jingwei.
it's, okay, or
Yeah,
everything.
it's kind
for
of,
Jingwei. Just
Text
Jingwei in
speed.
general.
Trust me that that's Jingwei. Jingwei's there, I promise.
Yeah, she's up there. All right, so
Explosive
what brought on the Jingwei glow up?
She is perhaps the latest of late game hunters that sure
Right.
does.
It's like the
exist.
opposite of Medusa. Right, yeah.
So she needed a couple of things in
Okay.
terms of
Yeah, not too many
ways to
people
help
use
so
her
we're
in
kind
an
of
arena.
approaching it from
I mean,
all
I see her
angles,
every
where
now and then, but
one
not
big
too
buff to
much.
something is probably going to feel very heavy-handed. So we wanted to give a lot of small buffs across the
kinda
board,
salt
especially
bathe them
because
across.
her win rate was just so low in
It's
comparison
abysmal.
to
It's
abysmal.
Abysmal.
Says Rogue.
Sorry, but
I know you're up there.
It was bad.
You're up there
It
like,
was
well,
very
it was
bad.
just a little. It was terrible.
sometimes when we look at the data, and especially after this 9.5 revert, previously
I mean, think about
win
it.
rates are
What-
between
what
53% and
hunters are the
47%,
least
like
used
typically.
in
So
arena?
pretty
You know what I'm
close
saying?
levels. And then we did the 9 point
Jinwei is
revert,
definitely one of
9.5
them.
revert, and it's between like 60 and 50. Sorry, 60 and 40, and she's
just
down
skewed it.
close
She's
to
below
that
that.
40. Yeah,
Okay.
was she
She was
below?
probably-
Yeah.
Apollo is probably
around-
the next one.
I don't want to say an exact number because I'm definitely going to be wrong.
I think Apollo's
but
probably less
she was
used than
very close to
Jinwei,
being
though.
below it if she
I
wasn't
don't know.
below
It's
40.
a
Yeah,
toss
so we
up. They
definitely
both
felt the need to
you
kind of
hardly
buff
see it.
across the board.
Breathe some life back into the kit. Okay,
So we're doing a lot of things here.
let's do it.
Attack speed per level. Of course, it's going to be helpful for a late game scaling character, very thematic to that. Explosive bolts, scaling down and cooldown as well from just 12 at all ranks to 12 to 10. Good for your late game, love for the
Yeah.
late game. Decreased cooldown on agility. It was previously 18 to 16, and that is now just 16 seconds. That is a very, very long cooldown
Yeah.
for that dash.
That
So
is.
Short
it's
range.
definitely going to help there. Also, the power that you get from dashing into the air is increased. You do get power from dashing normally, but only specifically when you're dashing from
She's
the
a
air,
good
whether as a
hunter.
counter to an enemy's knockup
Yeah, I don't
or
use her that
getting
much.
knocked up by your own abilities. That's going to help you from there as well. And the buff
I
duration is
probably
going to
would
persist a little
rather
bit
use
longer.
her
So
than
play around your
Apollo.
power, you're going to be feeling a little bit more.
Apollo's just
Got
a,
it.
Finally, airstrike.
he's just
Increase
a pain in the
scaling
butt to
from
use in
100
high
to
CC
110.
environments.
So you can use that power. Yeah.
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 Well, clean. Yeah. All across the board. Hopefully, we see Jingwei kind of come back in a little more.
so.
Now we're going from a graceful hunter of the air to Kumbhakarna, big
Yeah,
and
this
sleepy.
one's not going to fit on one screen. This is
Just like Kumbhakarna. He is.
Army,
so
what did you do here? Oh my
His
god.
first two basic attacks now
so
clean.
let's start from the top. Am
Increase
I showing
revive
everything? Okay,
health.
let's start from the
as
top.
much as you can.
The so
Decrease the
Kumba, of course,
mana
is a
cost,
troubled
decrease
character.
the cooldown.
He
Same.
can be very frustrating.
I'm not gonna
but
lie,
he's
dude. I've
very,
hardly seen him
very,
lately
very
in arena
weak
either.
statistically. Like
Huh.
he's basically been maintaining that low win
The
rate that
bad thing
Jingwei
about
has, even
Kumbhakarna
beyond
is
Really?
changes
Okay.
to
If you
TTK,
use him-
Multiple
beyond
patches, yeah.
items. This has been
with a team that doesn't
long-standing problem.
follow up
Persistent
the
struggle
tank,
bus.
you're
And it's
sitting
very
duck,
hard
dude.
because
It
we're putting a lot of
sucks.
effort
But
into
if you're playing with a team that
making
knows how to
fights
use a
great
tank,
games. So
dude,
we're
he's
trying to kind
hella,
of keep
hella
things at
powerful.
a fair enough level of scope when it comes to
What's
the things
up,
that we
man?
can do. So we've kind of pushed it with Kumba here a lot in terms of what we're able to do,
Yeah.
and we
Dude,
hope that
you
you guys
just
really
woke
like it a
up.
lot. So
We've
there's going to
been-
be a
this
lot of
thing's
changes
been
here.
going
We're
on
going
for
to break them
an
down
hour and 15
one by one,
minutes.
hopefully, and that will get
We've
get
been
us
here over an
to
hour.
Kumba feeling better,
Yeah.
and hopefully less frustrating.
Yes, that's the goal. Yeah. So Horace kind of had a similar problem to this back in the early days, or back probably 2 years ago maybe, and where it's these gods have very low pick rates.
I like
and
Kumbhaka
very low
though.
win rates, so we need to do buffs, but also even if we do buffs, they're really just in one vertical role because they would just support only gods.
Tank, right?
We're actually adding some damage here and some wave clear here to Kumba's kit. If you read over it, there's a chance, similar to Horus, he can move out of the support lane and maybe into the solo lane a little bit as well, because he has that extra damage. He has that ability to clear the wave now as well, and we're also adding a little bit of sustain to his kit. So we'll go top to bottom.
Yeah, he's pretty powerful.
You've got the very top. So the physical protection just upped a little bit more in line to other characters.
He was a little bit low.
Yeah, we looked at some others. So that's by far the smallest buff here. The basic attacks now. So his first 2 basic attacks can cleave. So that gives him a little bit of wave clear ability. If you look at his animations in game, it actually matches quite well. So it feels
swings,
right, with a big weapon. So that last hit is single target, but more damage. The first 2 are AoE and for a normal amount of damage. Moving on to a little bit of sustain for him. Yes, for his passive. So increasing the amount that you get when you actually die and revive. Sometimes it's you don't get the revive off, but sometimes you do, and then you just quickly die again because you were just getting 35%, which in the early game might not be too much, especially post TTK changes. So bringing that up just a little bit to make it a little more viable to get away after you revive.
Immunity to CC.
That's right. And then if you do have this passive ability on cooldown, whether you die or you revive, as long as it's on cooldown, you actually gain health per second. Health per 5 seconds. So 20 of that as well. So just increasing his sustain a little bit, whereas he had absolutely no sustain outside of dying and reviving. So now you should be able to sustain a little bit longer in game, in lane, if you were to play it in solo, for example.
Yes. And this isn't like an amount of HP 5 that you'd want to like grief this for. Like I don't think there's still any reason that you'd want to trade away your passive for 20 HP 5. But it's nice. It's there when the situation arises that you don't have it.
Feeling invigorated after a nice nap.
Yeah.
The funny thing about Goomba, man, and I've been playing this game for what? I don't even know, dude, 4, 5, 6
and then throwback,
years,
this is his one. Actually had quite high mana cost
when
before.
He's knocked out, you can still
how
do
often
that
you want to use it. We're allowing to use it a little more often with a second off of the cooldown, and then a little less mana usage as well. Again, kind of targeted towards the solo lane, where yes, you might have blue buff, but even with 80 mana every 11 seconds, that's going to be a lot in combination with his other abilities. Now moving on to Groggy Strike, that is his 2s, the big root and cripple, the one that takes a while to cast.
The bonk.
Yes. He kind of had this problem where he has multiple hard CCs, right? His ult is 3, and they were just kind of DRing each other, so they were reducing cooldown across the board. He kind of wanted to do the combo of maybe you blink 3 them to mez them to set them up for other abilities, but if you do that, then if you might 2 them off of your mez, it was less CC duration because you're DRing yourself.
Starting to stack.
Exactly. So we're removing the DR. It doesn't stack with his 2 now, so it'll always be that root duration, and then in trade we're bringing the root duration down from 2 to 1.5, and that is in line with reducing the frustrations that this god does. He just kind of CCs enemies and they can't move, they can't do anything forever. Now it'll be smaller amounts, but
it will always
less frustration.
And again, this does still apply DR. It just isn't affecting it.
Got it.
Exactly. So it's good to use this ability, kind of whenever now, but especially after the 3 where they already have DR stacks. You'll always get that 1.5 seconds root. Less frustrating for Kumba, less frustrating for his enemies as well. And now we get into kind of an interesting one with Mighty Yawn. We talked about adding damage to his kit. We're doing that with the basic attacks, but now we're doing it to his 3 as well. So if you remember, when you wake up an enemy god early from Mighty Yawn, you slow their attack speed, you slow them down, but now you actually damage them on that wake up as well. So you're waking them up quite violently.
His stuns and stuff, and then once he's on cooldown, then
so you can actually get a lot of burst damage for this one. If you 3 them while they're asleep, you get that Groggy Strike off, get a big burst damage from hitting the 2, and then a burst damage from waking them up as well. It adds up to be a lot. You can use this against the wave as well. Put the whole wave to sleep, and then use your 1 to knock a minion through the whole wave and wake them all up one by one, and then damage them all.
Extra procs,
Now you've slowed them all. They you applied CC, but you've applied damage. Exactly. So you've got a lot of damage, and that's another way to proc items as well. If you wanted to buy Shield of the Phoenix on Kumba, now you can get more procs because of that as well.
That's cool. And might I pause to say that nothing more relatable has ever been said on this show than I take damage when my alarm goes off.
Exactly. Right.
So. Yes. If you do just wake up on your own, you don't take the damage.
Bliss.
You don't
It's wonderful. Yeah.
You just wake up naturally. You're chilling.
As soon as that alarm goes off, immense psychic damage.
Yeah, but that's not Kumba's goal anymore. He wants to wake them up early in a very violent way. So apply that debuff and apply that damage as well. But speaking of the debuff, we did reduce it, especially in the early game for the slow. So it's 20 to 40. It scales with the ranks. And then the same for the attack speed slow. They're actually mirrored now. So both the attack speed and the movement speed slow are both the same. Reducing the mana cost down to 50 at all ranks, because again, you want to be using this more often, especially if you're in the solo lane. And then back up to the second line of Mighty Yawn.
I might mess
another
around with Kumba
case
next,
of reducing the
stream.
frustration for the enemy gods.
I think I might
we don't want to
build
put
together from it.
players asleep for 3 seconds. That's a long time that they're not playing the game. So bringing that down to
played him a long
2.5
time. I used to
makes it a
enjoy
little more
playing
fair,
him.
a little more less frustrating to play against. But it also makes Kumba have to
like
care
building
more about
Kumba
his
with a lot of
CC and when
movement
he's placing
speed,
it, because
dude.
now he wants to be able to break
high
that
cooldown
sleep
reduction
jam.
and
You know, he
movement
wants
speed on him is
to do that damage. So he's
hilarious.
a smaller window to do that. So you have to be more intentional with your
Yes.
decisions.
You do get a little bit more in the early game though as well, so it is possible for you to do that full setup of 3 and then 1 the
Wave.
wave if you want to. It is a lot harder in the early game to do it. It's still possible, but again, the more that you level this up, the more chances that you'll have, the more time that you'll have to actually do more of that combo.
Execute that combo completely.
Yep.
So
And then last one, small buff, but pretty significant because it's a very strong ultimate. Bringing that ultimate cooldown to 70 seconds. So very short cooldown on that ultimate. Altogether, he's dealing more damage. He's doing things more often, and he's should be less frustrating to fight.
It always seems like his
less
terms of
frustrating to
CC.
play.
comes off really quick
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
well, cool. That was just like a 1 or 2 changes.
Yeah,
Five
so
sections is
definitely
a
not.
long time.
there's definitely not.
Whole list. There's
Yeah. So obviously we're going through. You're reading along with us, but if we happen to get through all that and you're like, I absorbed some of that, then you can always check out the patch notes yourself and read back through what we've gone over. So smitegame.com/news. But anyway, cool. So let's keep moving on. We've moved past Kumba. We're into Maui
Guardian.
territory now.
Yeah, another long set of buffs here. Is this gonna fit on the screen? It is. Oh, guess what?
Oh,
You
see,
got it.
yeah, perfect.
Too.
Oh, and
But,
they got
one more. There
the
we go.
well boy too.
All right. So what's going on in Maui Town?
So
Really,
Maui
really?
has received a lot of buffs. He has not moved
Cool.
very much. in terms of win rate.
I didn't mean to laugh.
I mean, you
Really at all,
hardly
he
see
hasn't
Maui in
moved.
Arena too.
We've been brutally honest here, roasting gods back
Man.
in here. Maui is another one that unfortunately is not doing too
Yeah,
hot.
both of those
Okay.
gods
We're
are
giving
very
him
seldom
a lot of help
used.
across the board here.
Maui's
Kind of
actually pretty powerful
Not
if
the
you know how
same
to
vein
use
as
them.
Kumba, but similar kind of idea.
Well,
where
so
we want
is
to
the
give
well,
him
right?
a
So, I
little
mean,
bit
it is what it is,
more
but they're niche
feels good
gods.
about his kit.
They're not mainstream.
So what we're doing is we're starting with the general attack speed going up at the base from 0.85 to 0.9. This is at a similar vein to like Sylvanas, who has a very fancy auto attack. So
True.
does our boy Maui. So he's going to have some extra help there. Another buff to power as well to put him more in line with. Again, Sylvanas was another good reference of characters that did want to like had these kind of fancy autos that were guardians. Just a little bit more impact for that basic attack. Up next, Master Fisherman. Charge time is going down by roughly 50%. So of course, when you use his ability initially, it starts out partially extended, right? So
Yeah.
it has a little bit of range to it. It's going to take 50% less time to actually get to the full range of it now. So you have to
Okay.
spend less time spinning,
Yeah, spinning
more
it
time
up.
hooking. You know what I mean?
That's how I'm fishing, brother.
Good life
Amen.
advice. Yeah.
And then we're also increasing the projectile speed rate roughly 10%. So not
Dang,
all
man.
that
If you wanna
noticeable,
spend more time
but it
hooking,
will be
do
feeling a little bit
you.
more accurate, you might say,
Yeah.
with your throws.
Cool. Nothing wrong with little. When he went to fishing camp, he practiced.
Yeah, he sure did learn quite a lot about fishing. Up next, though, Mystical Ulua. This is pretty much not quite a full revert from what it
Close,
was
yeah.
upon his release, but it is close. The movement speed is going to be especially impactful. 16% at max rank is quite a lot,
That's a lot of
especially with
movement
the low cooldown that it does have. So we're hoping that plus the protections are going to be helping this ability feel good. And then small buff to Solar Swing, 1 second off, just a little bit more access to that mobility.
Yeah, another case of kind of just buffs across the board. The one especially will feel a lot better, but the two, if you max that, you really get a good effect of 16% movement speed and a good amount of protections as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you offer a lot to your team in that way. So really cool. All right. Well, yeah. I mean, always a fan of Guardians, so I love to see my Guardians getting a little stronger. And
Guardians.
speaking of Guardians, we
go.
went from the top of the water to below the water.
Yeah.
So what's
did.
Bake Kujira doing?
Bake, bake, bake.
Another one with
Okay,
a pretty low win rate.
Uh-oh.
This one not as
Uh-oh,
bad,
I'm seeing
but
the
it was
Anubis
started out
ears.
really
I'm
strong,
seeing
very
the
very strong in
Anubis
the early
ears.
game. This god,
Oh,
but
no, the
rough
list
waters.
is
We've
going
talked
on.
about recently where gods are kind of just more fun when you can do more things. So lowering the cooldown, especially in the late game of that rough waters,
Yeah,
should
this
help
was
that.
kind of a direct revert as well.
Yeah, that as well
Okay,
because
cool.
he on release, like I said, very powerful.
Yeah.
One of the
somewhat-
best early game gods
He popped off.
ever.
Right,
He
yeah.
went hard.
So he got nerfed pretty hard after that as well. So it brings some of those back is the goal here with Sonic Wave and Twisting Dive both getting buffs too. Sonic Wave, a little bit more damage. Generally, you're maxing this one first, so it feels good for the early game clear. And then Twisting Dive, just 1.5 seconds at all ranks. The 0.5 just it almost felt like it wasn't there, right? You didn't, you would dash and stun them, and then you didn't have enough time to really do another action.
This is kind of unifying the feeling as well that you're getting,
Right.
and knowing exactly how
So you
much
think
time
Anubis is
that you
getting
have
buffed
to
or
actually
nerfed?
interact with the person that's been stunned here.
Yeah.
So
He hasn't
this
got a
should
buff in
feel
a long
not quite
time,
like
and, I'll
a
be
crazy buff,
surprised
more
if he
so
got
that
buffed.
you are able to just interact with it in the same way that you always were.
Yeah, feels
Cool.
good.
Feels good.
Love to see that. I
Here
love
we
seeing
go.
Guardians on
Here
top.
we
And
go.
next up, another god that I truly do love, Anubis.
Getting nerfed?
Anubis.
Anubis, my boy.
He's been suffering since the TTK change.
Increases
There
base
it
health
is. You
I
thought he'd
wasn't
be
gonna-
good.
what,
I
20
thought he would
by
be good.
40?
To
It
be
kind of
honest.
goes both ways for this god.
Increases
Yeah,
health
he
per
needs
level
to get
by
in there
2.
to be able to do his damage, and he's susceptible while he's doing his ultimate,
Yeah.
right? Until you get that life steal
Duration of the
online and
sorrow
a
by
bunch
1
of damage to be able to life steal a lot. He was kind of just
Increase the
dying in his
cooldown,
ultimate. So
increase
now
the
I'm making that a
scaling
little
damage.
less
Oh, wow,
often, or a
that's
little
a-
harder to kill him by giving him a good amount of early game health. 40 is
Okay,
actually
so
quite
his
a lot.
damage
and then
they
2 per
scaled
level as well
up,
should
but
make a
his
difference.
ramp is a
One of
little
the lowest
slower,
base
but
healths
not,
in the game,
not
actually,
you're
just
gonna
starting off the
feel.
bat.
It makes sense as a lifesteal boy, but it did hurt.
Yes,
At
it
the
did.
beginning of the game, when you don't have it though.
Yeah.
But we can
But of course,
2v5.
since Sorrow is his passive debuff as well slash buff, it's technically a steal, I
Right?
guess you could say.
Yeah.
He gets a lot of stuff from the passive, so now you get it for a little bit longer. Plague of Locust then, of course, is getting a decrease in cooldown just across the board, a little bit easier to use in the early game, and you get more scaling damage for towards the late game. And then finally, for Mr. Agubis, he's getting Mummify, increased stun duration to be 2 seconds at all ranks. Kind of similar vibe here to Baki Kujiro,
Yeah, he is
where
already
you
a
just
pain.
want to kind of unify
Well,
the
they
feeling
decreased,
of
they
the stun throughout
increased
the ranks. It
the
wasn't
stun
a
duration
humongous
by
difference
what?
between 1.6 to 2 seconds, so we just want to
0.4?
unify that and make sure that
I mean,
those Anubis players are knowing exactly how much
Are you
time
gonna
they're
feel
stunning
that?
for,
Probably
and the
not.
people that are taking the Anubis stun know
You
exactly
sure
how
as
much
hell
time
ain't gonna
they're
tell the
being stunned
difference
for.
between
Like you said, it unifies the experience so that like at all
1.9
ranks, at all parts of the
and 2, you know
game,
what
you
I'm
kind
saying?
of know what to expect.
I mean, it's like
So you
whatever.
can, like you said, plan around it a little bit.
Yeah.
So.
Now the
Cool. Hey, I'm
increase
all
of
for
damage is
a
pretty
little Anubis
significant.
love. So
that you're
next
gonna
up,
feel because you got to
Hell.
remember that affects his
Yeah,
lifestyle
a pretty
too.
popular god,
That
but
means his
definitely
lifesteal
needed
just
some
got buffed.
changes. She was. It became difficult to be able to use all of her spells because she really just has so many with her cooldowns and her
that's
switch
true.
stance. So giving a little bit more mana per level is really strong in that regard. Mana cost as well on the dark
Both
stance
ones of the
too.
two?
Yeah, and then the light stance of the 2 as well, both down to 60 at all ranks.
Yeah, I
so
don't know why they
much easier to
buffed them,
manage
to
on
tell
top
you
of
the truth.
that general passive general buff in terms of her mana.
Yeah, just raw mana.
Yep, and then her damage on her 3, 85% is quite a lot, especially
It is.
considering you get amount of power. I think it's like 50 power from her passive as well, and then you get the protection reduction from her dark stance 2. And you end up doing a lot of damage with your 3, so definitely more rewarded for getting in there and doing damage instead of just support hell. But speaking of support hell, with the light stance 3,
It's so
movement
annoying
speed
when you get
back up
people
to
that play
20%.
hell that
I
don't
think
know
this
how
is
to
a
play
revert from what it was before,
And
then
that's
allied
like
movement speed
80%
up
of
to
the
10%
time.
as well.
Yep.
Every
Just
time I see a
couple
hell on
of,
our
buffs there
team
to make
that's
sure
not
she's
a
able
Reaper,
to
I'm usually
still
like,
be
dude, we're
squishy.
not gonna
She's
have
still
no
fairly
minion control,
Yeah.
and
low
our
health and all that
DPS is
stuff,
gonna
but making
suck.
her a lot easier to actually be useful utility-wise, and a
Yeah.
little bit of extra damage.
Sometimes
there
I
on
get
top of it.
pleasantly
Allowing her to do
surprised
what she
with
does
a
best
pug
in
that
terms
knows
of
how to use
provide
her,
that
but very
utility or damage
seldom,
depending on your choice, but actually survive doing it and being able to use your actual abilities by having more mana.
Yeah, without being, like you said,
The
getting in that
cleanse
state where
is
you're
what
like,
makes her
I'm out of
so
mana, but I just
strong
want to play
if
the
people
game.
actually
so.
used her
Right.
cleanse on
Cool.
their other
Love
people.
to hear that
you
for
know what I'm
her. Hu Yi up next. We got a bow and arrow boy.
We sure do, and
Oh,
he's
wow.
got a couple buffs here.
A couple buffs here.
First things first, a lot of people like to talk about the early game attack speed for Hui and say it's very slow, very slow starting character. And while that is kind of true, he's not that much slower than other basic attack characters. And it didn't feel right
Well,
to put
he's
him
actually
above
pretty strong.
characters that were more focused on their basic
Now,
attacks.
his
Yeah.
ricochet
Like, we
arrow
want to put him, who's a very
in
much
arena
not a
is
stim
pointless.
hunter,
I
into
mean,
that stim hunter category. And
very
kind of,
seldom
in
do I
general,
use
hunters across the
ricochets
board
in
are very
arena.
sporadic in terms of where they sit at their
But
basic attack speed.
the
So we're
fact
like,
that you
okay,
can
well, where
stun
can we give him
people
some love?
as a
Attack speed
hunter,
per
that's
level.
pretty
Scaling
strong.
good.
dude.
Didn't work out.
That's
He was
really strong.
very low compared
And
to
you
a lot
got
of
that
other
escape,
characters.
right?
So 1.4% is more in line with other characters of his stature. And let's talk about Ricochet next. 'Cause
All right, Ricochet.
Second Ricochet.
Yeah.
That's
yes.
kind of cooking.
That is
Speaking
kinda-
of when you can do things more often, more
Do
fun.
more things.
This is already one of the most fun abilities, right? So just
It is.
having the opportunity to line that up much more often, 20% cooldown reduction at max rank feels really good. Not as punishing when you miss it, especially.
no.
We want people to really try for these crazy trick shots, get your triple bounce all the way down the lane or against the tower or something. Do something really cool. You have more opportunities to do so
Take
now,
out the
and then
threat.
a bit of
Yeah,
mana
that's
reduction
what-
on the
and
3 as well.
Anubis
It
can
felt
be a
pretty
big
punishing.
threat.
90 mana.
If you
There's
build
a
them
lot.
right, right?
Yeah.
That is
It's like ultimate level.
costly.
Yeah, especially on an escape as well. It didn't feel good if you were at 80 mana. On most other gods with 80 mana, you're able to get away and escape with your dash. on her you weren't. So bringing it down to 70 at all ranks feels a lot more fair.
That makes sense. Rock and roll. So next up, an assassin that I've always loved, Hunbots.
OG.
It's
OG.
time to go bananas. Am I right, guys?
Dude, you
And
are
speaking
so
of going
right.
bananas, we're reverting.
Imagine if he was a chef. Anyway.
Reverting the nerf that we did way back when to infuse strikes. His basic attack damage is going back up from 15%
Dude, I
to
hate this
20%
guy's
whenever he uses his ability. He's getting
this guy's
buffed,
all
able
so
to use it
freaking
and do a
annoying.
bit of, infusing of his strikes.
Yeah.
But we've got some fun buffs here as well on top of that.
Fun buffs.
Sacred Monkey is now able to bounce a full basic attack range. So if you are
Okay, wow.
next or close to a minion,
Yeah.
and the monkey bounces to you, he's got a little bit more chance to actually get that monkey to get to his target or
Yeah.
be able to reach someone. So he's got a little bit more utility in that regard in terms of who he's able to chase down, how far away they are,
With mobility.
et cetera, et cetera. A little bit of extra mobility there. And speaking of extra mobility, Fear No Evil also getting an increased deploy range by
Cool.
10 units as well. And
Yeah.
this is going to be super helpful.
Yeah.
One of the most important things you learn when you play Hunbots
Dude,
is
I'm
like
so hungry. I'm getting a
positioning
headache.
the
These people
totem
need
to
talk
get the
faster.
enemies feared in the correct direction,
Yep.
to be into a wall, into your teammates, away from your teammates even, things
Into
like
the
that.
tower.
Into the tower, also a very good mention.
Ooh,
So
today I'm getting
now that he's
shrimp
able to place
pasta.
it a little bit
We're
further
doing
away, not
shrimp
only is he
pasta
getting that
today.
extended range and able to catch more people with the back end of
That
it,
just made
but
me
also
happy.
going to be able to put it in a spot that's more
Yeah.
helpful to
Because
him.
I'm hungry
Yeah,
as hell.
Especially when
easy
you're
to-
trying to get it on the other side of somebody
Just
fighting.
about to
Yeah.
say that.
Like,
Yep. Yeah, over a wall as well. Like you
Yeah,
have that
ooh,
distance.
yeah.
So really makes just applicable to more situations, more more opportunity to use this ultimate.
Well, no complaints from me. I love that. All right, awesome. So now we're moving on to Tyr.
Tyr is a character that's very interesting
Tyr's a
because
character.
he's incredibly popular,
Oh,
but he sure is bad.
Hell no.
So
Be honest.
we want to make sure that
They
we
decrease
are,
his
getting his
Lawbringer
stats
by
up because again, his
30
stats did fall
seconds
low enough
late
into a
game?
range that are like, we kind of do
Wow.
have to do something
Yeah, we need
here.
help our boy.
But
Yeah.
we understand the perception is that he is
Wow.
still, relatively good, relatively strong. He's playable.
Yeah.
So we're doing kind of an exciting buff here versus anything, super, super crazy, where we're decreasing the cooldown as you rank up Lawbringer from 90 at all ranks to 90 down to 70. More big jumps, more big stuns, more
Yeah.
big damages.
Playmakers.
Yeah, and this one's important for Tyr as well because he needs that mobility to get on the other side of them, or just to in the correct position to be able to push them in the direction you actually want to push them in. So now a much lower cooldown on that. He doesn't have
Dude,
to rely on
Tyr's
Blink
so
as much or his
freaking
movement speed as
annoying,
much.
dude. He
Although we
gets
did
on my
buff Windblade,
nerves.
so he can buy that too.
Hey.
A little bit of a double buff for him, but yeah, just being able to use it more often as well makes it so you
Once
want
he
to rank up that
grabs you,
ultimate
especially
too,
if you're a
because
mage that has
we've
no
buffed
escape like a Zeus,
all of his other
dude, you're just
abilities
done.
in the past. So you kind of sometimes just want to leave that ultimate at rank 1 at just that 90-second base, but now you might be tempted to put the skill points into
Think
that and
about it,
rank
dude.
it up to
They
get your
went
lower
to
cooldown.
70 seconds, right?
I mean,
So, yeah,
that's
exactly.
how
So you
ultimates
take
always feel to me. Like if
40%
you
of
can get your
70,
ultimate cooldown down,
if you
always
get
because there's
full
such
cooldown
fun
reduction,
playmaking abilities.
I mean, that's
Exactly, yeah.
craziness.
That's the whole point.
Exactly, right. That's why they're called ultimates.
Yep.
All right, so continuing
you got
down the line,
28
we have
second
Pele
freaking
up
ult now.
next for some love.
That's crazy, dude.
Pele, indeed. So
Everybody's-
she's a very
that dude-
interesting
that
case
dude's gonna be
because we
doing that
did a
stun
change
almost
to
less than
the timing
30
of her
seconds.
second ability,
If you
Eruption.
got, when you
Yeah,
got full
we
We
cooldown
did our
reduction,
whole
that's crazy.
timing pass, and we were like, "This is gonna make this ability insane." We changed it
And
by
then you
a
wanna be a
huge,
big
huge
troll?
margin.
Add
But
that freaking
actually,
new
it
malicious
turns out that the
Deathbringer
nerf
that
to it
now
wasn't really
affects your
necessary, and her
ult,
stats went
'cause that
down
was
after
freaking
that,
smart, right?
surprisingly.
To add
which
that
we did nerf her.
to
We
a
did
god
preemptively
like
nerf
that.
her, and
Yeah.
Dude,
that's
you're gonna be
our
doing
bad.
that
We're gonna
freaking
revert that.
stun like every 2 seconds.
And then we're also going to be buffing Everlasting Flame to give her a bit more ability to use it more frequently.
Yeah, and a little more powerful as well. An extra 0.5 power per level, which adds up a decent amount. So
yeah.
now you really feel it when you've got that passive active.
Yeah.
Well, good to hear. Yeah, you gotta love when you're like, things were different than we had assumed. So
Another
it happens
one.
all the time.
We can
It's
admit that.
With the
crazy how that
malicious
happens, but yeah,
Deathbringer that
awesome.
can
Well,
bring down her
interesting, or
ult,
I will be interested
that's
to
gonna
see
be
more
crazy,
life
dude,
pop back
'cause her
into her
ult's
kid.
annoying as hell, too.
Bakasura up next, the Thing of Nightmares. What's going on with him?
Oh boy, this is a big, big, big shift here.
Oh,
So
boy.
Bakasura is surprisingly doing quite bad.
We won't have
We
to
were
put
not
up with it
especting that,
long,
especially because
right?
Vitalis is
Stone
back,
Shadow.
Stone Cutting's
27th
back.
right
These are
around the
items
corner.
that you would think, oh, Bakasura's name is written all over those guys.
He's about to go crazy.
So we didn't quite see that. Instead, what we're going to be doing here is buffing Butcherblade's passive physical power up to from 5, 10, 15,
Turn
20,
up my
25 to
mic?
10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So up by 5 at all ranks,
Yeah.
which is just a nice thing to have. A little bit
Yeah.
of extra
Throw some love in
pizzazz there from leveling up that ability.
Or
and then
are they
Regurgitate's
just too
getting a
loud?
very interesting buff here in
Hold on,
that
let me just
it
turn
now
them down.
deals damage every 0.5 seconds while
wanna
enemies are
screw with
inside
that
the
'cause
area. So this is
that's-
anything that's inside the area except for towers. Of course,
Yeah.
towers don't count. And then also you get increased cone basic attack duration from 6
There,
seconds,
is that
was 6
better?
seconds at all ranks, up to 10 seconds at rank 5. So you will be munching even longer. Your sludge
Is
vomit,
here?
goop. I don't know what you want to call it. Whatever you want to call it. It does damage now, which is awesome because it kind of opens up his build a little bit more willing to buy proc items.
Yeah.
Which could work interestingly on him.
There,
so
that
it's
should be
going to
better
be
now.
cool to see
Now
if this
my
opens
mic
up
is
his build
louder
path a
than
little
they
bit
are.
more. Gives him a little bit more options to actually
I had him
care
backwards,
about where he's
so-
putting that slop.
The Baka Bile.
The Baka Bile. And then, of course, more cone attack, more fun. Am I right?
Yes, I agree.
Slop. Okay, yeah. That's cool and awful. I can't wait to have to
Yeah, I
fight
don't
and
think I
vomit.
put
That'll
the,
be great.
cap
Uller up
on
next,
salamander, so-
also on the gain train.
Yeah, this was another one that kind of fell off the wayside a little bit with the
Yeah.
TTK changes. I think we nerfed him a bit before that. We had nerfed Transcendence, a couple changes that all kind of cascaded down on Ulla to decrease his win rate and subsequently decreased his play rate, which we don't like seeing. So buffs kind of not across the board, but his damage especially was extra important here with his one, the arrow 1 and then the arrow 3
This
as
guy's
well. So
freaking annoying as hell.
a little bit of
too.
less mana on the 3, so you can use it more often, therefore increasing your damage. Also kind of goes in line with the Transcendence nerf that happened a while ago, so now a little less painful in that regard.
Yeah.
And then Glory Bound as well, increasing the damage scaling
Yeah,
and
if
the
you're
mana
full
cost too.
committing, it'll
Yes.
feel a lot better.
Yeah, you'll get
Or
that
is
a little
that
bit
too low
extra
now?
damage off.
Yep.
So, rock and roll. Moving on to a character that has been near and dear to my heart since like the early days of Smite. We have Vamana.
Little baby.
Little baby, bigger baby now.
Yeah, bigger baby.
Here's the thing about
There you go.
Vamana.
Here's the thing.
He's a very simple character, but he definitely feels dated in some regards, right? So let's talk about the things that aren't super crazy right off the bat. Clear the path. Decrease cooldown by 2 seconds. Very standard
Boom.
change here.
Love it.
Umbrella Ring, this is where things get interesting, is that the projectile speed is getting increased by roughly 30%. This is going to feel
You're
a
about to
lot
go to
more in
sleep,
line
right? Me
with
too.
other abilities. Going to be a lot
I'm just
easier
hungry,
to
so
aim
all
both the
I
back
can
and the
think
forth
about is
because,
food.
again, it's going at the same speed forward and backwards.
Yeah.
You're going to be able to
I'm
get some
thinking of
double
that shrimp
taps, which I
pasta
think
I'm
will
about
feel
to
really
have.
nice.
That'll be cool.
And then also the projectile width, which is actually a little bit too
Oh,
small for the
no.
art
Oh,
and
no. I
the,
see
the targeter.
Discordia.
So we wanted to make sure
I
that we
see
were better
Discordia.
aligning that to the art. Should
Oh,
feel a
no,
lot
no,
more
no.
correct
It better
now
be
for
a
those
buff.
Vamana players. And then
It better
finally,
be a buff.
we are doing a bit of a revert here to Colossal Furious Shield. Again, because max health did change quite a bit, we want to make sure that if you are building max health, you're still getting a little bit more benefit from that, on
Oh.
top of just the fact that you have a little bit less now.
Yeah, well said.
Cool. Love to see it.
Here we
so
go.
always a fan of seeing the OG homies grow. So Discordia, one of my favorite mages anyway in the game, up there with
Increase
the Anubis
projectile
love.
speed,
what you
okay,
got going on?
whatever.
Yeah, this one's kind of big for Discordia
Increase
as
the
well. It's not
range,
that
yeah,
Discordia is doing
whatever.
particularly badly, it's that she's very unpopular,
Oh,
which I
snap.
find kind of surprising.
Now
so we're trying to up
reduces her
that fun
cooldown
factor
of
in a
her
couple
ultimate
of ways.
by
The
half
first
a
one is that we're
second per
increasing the
tick.
projectile speed of Unruly Magic
That's
by
huge,
just a hair,
'cause
10%.
before
It's going
that
to feel
didn't
a
affect
little
her
bit more
ult, like,
responsive, a
at
little bit
all.
more snappy, which is something that we
That's
felt
a
like
huge
was
buff,
going
dude.
to
That is a
make her
huge
feel
buff.
more modern.
Yeah.
Because even though it like blows my mind to say this, she's
Oh.
like 6 years old, something
Yeah.
like that. So she
I
does
feel
need a little
old.
bit of freshening up in terms of
Yeah.
that regard.
That's going to be
On
nice,
top of
dude. You're
that,
going to be
we're
able to
also
ult a
going to
lot
be
more
increasing
now.
the range of erratic behavior from 30 to 40. This is going to give her a little bit of extra safety, also a little bit more aggression if you ever want to erratic behavior in, go over a wall with it, a little bit easier now.
Yeah.
And kind of in the same vein of Malicious Deathbringer, it now also reduces the cooldown of her ultimate as well.
Hey, cool.
Yeah, really fun. Just be able to get in there, use your dash, go over a wall, travel around the map more often, and then while you're doing that, reducing your cooldowns just
Yes.
feels good in
Yeah.
general.
And
The
throwing
whole
slightly
aim
faster
of
magic.
this, fun.
Exactly.
Fun buffs.
Fun. Yeah. Imagine it. Fun.
Yeah.
Oh my god, how long is this
All right,
thing
cool.
going?
So moving on, we have
An hour and
Hades, our
38 minutes.
underworld king.
Yeah, these are just kind of some general buffs to
What?
his kit. You know, being able to use his silence more often, a second off of that. Still scales down, but a second off of all of them, and then some
Holy
some
crap,
damage
dude.
shifts on his
Hades is
three.
already
So
kind of OP,
more
dude.
single target damage, less AOE. Just it brings it in
Pretty
line.
significantly pulled off of the detonation.
Right, yeah, because that was kind of a frustrating part to fight as well. But being able to do more single target damage or more intentional damage with your 3 feels good for him, and he did need it considering his win rate, and considering that as well, his
Wow.
ultimate getting a bit of a scaling buff as well, just to be able to do more damage. So
Yeah.
pretty general buffs with a small shift to his 3.
Yep, exactly.
Love to see
Dude,
it.
if you
All right, so
get
next up is a character that I feel like is
tank
either
that
killing
uses,
me all
Gauntlets
game
of
or on my
Thebes
team
and the
beating somehow
Perfected
all
Cloak.
game. We have Kali.
Yeah, Kali is a very interesting character
You
Yeah.
when
buff
it comes
Hades
to
so
what has
much,
changed
dude.
recently.
Especially in
because
his
we
ult,
did
he's just
do quite
he
a
doesn't even
big
take no
change
damage.
to her leap.
Yeah.
We did some changes to her passive.
Plus, if you're playing
and
Ares, you got
honestly,
his
it was kind
2
of shocking
also.
just how radio silent it was a little bit on the changes. You know, she's still relatively unpopular, and actually her win rate used to be very, very high when it comes to casual players. She used to be a pub stomp genius for that kind of play style, but she's not really quite like that anymore. So what we wanted to do is first we wanted to revert the nerf that we did to Mark for Death, bringing that back up.
That's the first time I've seen anybody play her in a while.
To 0.5% per level. Incense is also getting an increased power buff, so when you use it, the power buff is going to be bigger now. And then Destruction is getting some increased damage scaling per tick. So she does feel better to play. Hopefully a little bit more flexible and when you're applying your target and being able to actually play around that. And now hopefully that target mechanic will be even more impactful than it was before.
Yeah, and she's getting the Equinox buff as well. She's got Stone Cutting from last patch. So all in all together should bring her up to a point that she was higher than she was before the changes to her passive.
Yeah, should see a breath of fresh air, you know, for you Kali players. Get in there and feel strong and powerful and deadly. All right, so last but not least, as we've made it to the bottom, we have Artemis getting a little love.
Yeah, this one kind of reminds me of Anubis a little bit. Same kind of changes in terms of the health changes, but again, just one of these old gods that is a little less mobile. She does get slow immunity on her too, and some movement speed on her too as well.
Yeah, it's a bit of a cleanse.
Yeah, but she was just kind of just dying, to be honest. You know, she didn't have too much self peel when that ultimate isn't up. You know, the self peel on your one is just a root, so you're not stopping range attacks from hitting you.
Yeah.
So she kind of needed that extra health. So she has a little bit more survivability, especially in the early game, to get her to the point where she is strongest, which is very much late gamer hunter in this regard. And then a fun one as well. You know, your traps, you can place them around the map, and you can see maybe an enemy steps on them because you see the damage numbers pop up. But you couldn't actually see them on the map. Now they'll be revealed for the duration of the time that they have that debuff on them. That debuff is the one that does the damage. So now if someone walks onto your trap,
you can see that
exactly where they are on the minimap. You can ping them off. You can tell your team where they're at. And
I mean, this is revealed to the whole team, right? You technically had all this information anyway, but it was in a lot of matches you're just not communicating that to your team.
But now you see them,
especially in casuals. Now your whole team is going to be able to see who got trapped, where they are, their health bar, all of that good stuff. All that information will be available to them. So if they see someone get stuck in a trap where, they thought they weren't going to be, maybe you go and pick them off or things like that. It's going to be very
he tried to deep ward, get him.
That extra utility. You can kind of use them as wards in a way. If they don't notice it, when they stand on it, then they're revealed now.
Yeah.
You can put them next to each other. You can put 3 in a row or something and just kind of cut off a corridor. So if someone's going to walk past you, you're going to see
them. I'm so
I like the idea that you do that and they panic, like, I got to get out of here. So they take a step to the side and they're stuck again. Like, oh, no, I got to get out of here.
Oh, no.
So instead of a wall where they catch one, you just get all 3 somehow. It's so funny.
Then we just kind of have a simple
when they go on these freaking 2-hour rants.
Vertical assault, just being able to use it every 14 seconds instead of scaling down. So maybe you can put points in that trap in the earlier game rather than just putting points in your 2.
If you want to. Also, just going to give you a little bit more of that survivability again, because that stim is very powerful.
Yeah, it definitely helps. So, and then that's the bottom. Below that, we just have our voice actors. We love our voice actors.
Shout out to them.
Thank y'all for all your good work.
But that was a
cool. Well, we did it.
update,
We talked some balance.
Sure did.
Yeah, that was
a balance.
That was a lot. Like you said, with how crazy the past 2 changes have been, we really desperately needed a chance to come back through and make some of these big sweeping balance changes. The type of balance that you just can't have in an update where you're trying to implore some new thing.
Some things I agree with.
How perfect that it landed like this at a time where y'all were able to go through and give attention
we only have to deal with it
still
until
scrolling,
August 27th.
by the way.
Right?
Give attention to all of these items, but also, gives y'all and a lot of the team more of a chance to focus and batten down the hatches for working towards that August 27th Smite 2
4 weeks, not even 4 weeks.
Yeah, not even. I like. We're in August.
Yeah, at least we got Discordia buff. That's right. That's a huge.
It's crazy how soon that's going to be, but
that is a huge.
I mean, I know.
Discordia buff.
Obviously, there's a lot to do between now and then. Like
especially
we recognize
early game.
Alpha Weekend 4, very fun for people. There was fun to be had with it, but it wasn't a perfect product by any means. So we I know that everybody around here is firing on all cylinders. We've taken the heaps of feedback we got about this should feel better, this should do this should do that. And I'm excited for the work we're going to be able to
I wish we could spoil it, but we can't. There is a lot coming.
Not yet.
The feedback was really strong and great feedback as well, very detailed. So we're able to act on it a lot very quickly, and the team's been knocking it out of the park. We're really enjoying being able to help them as well. So we appreciate the opportunity to help on Smite 2, do a balanced pass on Smite 1, while our new content teams all work on Smite 2 and bring you a great product in late August.
Yeah. So again,
kind of wish I
wanted to thank y'all for that again, and we hope to continue seeing that support. Like, I hope how much it feels, from where we're standing, it feels like we are building Smite 2 for and with y'all. Yeah. Like it's a weird, this is, you know, to speak humbly, this is my first time really being as close to the beginning of a game, of something that I hope will have such a great legacy like Smite 1 did. But it's crazy just how important everything that y'all, our community, like the heart of who we are, has to say. So keep hitting those feedback forms for us when you get the chance. If you have something to share, it doesn't matter if you're tweeting at one of us, using the Discord channels for sharing, using the, like, just share however you are comfortable, because I promise you it's going directly into like a channel where we're going to sit there and all talk about it. There's going to be 43 comments on y'all recommended this, how do we, you know, so but again, I could go about it all day. It's mostly because I love y'all, I love what we're doing here, and I'm excited to see the best version of Smite ever as we continue to iterate through Smite 2. So, but either way, we're done for today. I'm gonna stop talking to y'all because again, I could do it forever. So thank y'all for joining me on the show. It's always really fun. I love being able to talk with y'all.
Yes,
PTS will be up if y'all want to get in and feel out some of these balance changes. Feel free to. Obviously, keep your eye on socials. We'll let y'all know exactly when the doors are open, but that will be available to you. As always, you can give us feedback on how some of that feels as well. And past that, you know, continue going for that gold. You can earn those rewards in Smite 1, and look out for more Smite 2 information in the future, because, you know, we're working on some crazy stuff for y'all.
Yeah, it's coming.
I guess that's it. Thank y'all so much for being here today, and we will talk to you next time. See ya, fam.
See ya.
All right, dude. That is everything. Dude, there was a lot of changes, man. A lot of changes. Keep in mind, all this is going to go into effect on Tuesday. So Tuesday is we're getting the new battle pass. So if you haven't finished your battle pass yet, you got from today until the update Tuesday to finish your freaking battle pass, because everybody should be finished by now, dude. I think I finished mine like in 2 or 3 days. For some reason, it just felt shorter. But with that said, as y'all know, as a Smite partner, I get these codes for battle passes and for skins, usually about the first. Sometimes it takes them 4 days. Sometimes it takes a week from that Tuesday when it goes live. Sometimes it's the day of. You know what I'm saying? There's no telling. So remember, unless you want to use your personal gems to buy the battle pass, you know, unless you want to, you do you. But if you want a chance of winning a battle pass, hold off. I would recommend holding off at least for a few days until I see if I'm going to get any codes to give out. So that way, you know, you don't have to waste your gems if you don't want to. But anyway, man, that's pretty much it. I'm hungry. Hey, appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Our next stream will be on Tuesday when this thing go live, right? Again, appreciate everybody coming out. I'm Dark Garza, the OG on GC. We'll catch y'all next time.